morning. Happy Thursday. It is Glenn Clark Radio. I am Glenn. He is Griffin. I have to... Are we in a safe space? Are we in a... God, what do they call it in the old school? I thought we were in the safe... God, why is my brain not working? Are we in a safe space? Sure. Can I admit to something without judgment? Are we in the judgment?
Yeah.
It was the tree, right? It was the what God judgment? No, God damn it.
The trust circle? No, the trust tree.
Trust tree. Are we in the I thought we were in the trust tree. Yeah, we are. I didn't make it to the end of the match last night. I made it a long time.
You call yourself a tennis fan?
And I'm very tired.
You call yourself a tennis fan?
I made it a long time. So I have to thank Griffin, actually, because my childhood best friend grew up in Bel Air but moved to Brooklyn, moved up in New York when we were 20. John Chambers. He very kindly offered to take me to see Van Morrison last night at Wolf Trap for my birthday, which, of course, was Tuesday. And, it was magical. Oh, God, here's another trust tree moment. Never been to Wolf Trap, which seems impossible. It's amazing. What an incredible place it is. But I'd never been, and it's Van Morrison, and this is the, hey, you better see these guys because you're running out of time, moment. I had that, obviously, with Paul McCartney earlier this summer. Another trust tree thing, I've never seen the Stones. I need that to happen. I can't run the risk. I already know I'm going to miss out on one of them, unfortunately. But I'd still like to see Mick and Keith. I don't know how to explain it. It's just never happened. I've seen basically everybody else, but I'd never seen Van Morrison, who, of course, has been a bit of a recluse and mercurial and all these things. So, just this magical night, Griffin kindly filled in for me on some play-by-play responsibilities that I had last night to allow me the opportunity in order to go down and do that, which was wonderful, and it was a great night hanging out with my lifelong best friend, seeing Van Morrison. I put up a short video snippet. He did Brown Eyed Girl. He didn't do a lot of songs. Let's be... Van Morrison is that place in his life where he's like, I'm going to play the songs I want to play. Or I'm not going to do this.
You weren't going to be able to request any song.
Into the Mystic didn't happen. Bummer. Tupelo Honey didn't happen. There were a lot. Moondance didn't happen. There were a lot that were left on the cutting room floor. And that's a bummer. Seriously, it is, because this is probably going to be the only time I ever see Van Morrison, but he played Gloria, and he played Have I Told You Lately That I Love You. He played a lot of things, but he played of all of the ones, for him to say, all right, I'll go ahead and play it, he played Brown Eyed Girl. And it was a pretty surreal moment for me, sitting out at Wolf Trap on a gorgeous night, watching Van Morrison do Brown Eyed Girl. It was a very surreal feeling to experience that. So thank you to Griffin. Thank you to my buddy John. It was an incredible night. Problem being, I didn't really watch any of the Orioles game. I tried at one point while I was sitting out, before Van went on, I tried to pull it up when the Masson app is struggling.
The good news is...
Yeah, I didn't miss anything.
We didn't miss anything.
I didn't miss anything at all. So how did it work out? How did it work out when Kramer came in?
Well, I was calling a game too, so I didn't get to watch it.
I would have thought that you would have gone back and checked.
Yeah, well, I know they Wells went 2+, I think, and then they brought Kramer. So Kramer.
But was he in trouble in the third? Is that?
I know he allowed a run through.
Right,
the game was so bad.
We don't know. We didn't watch. That's the answer. The answer is we have no idea. That's on me. It's on me. I should have at least prepared.
I watched the last 3 innings, and I realized it was obvious I did not miss much.
Well, I understand that, but I would still like to know the. You keep saying that. That doesn't help me. I'd like to know the answer to the conundrum of how they handled this bizarro Tyler Wells, Dean Kramer situation.
Probably had.
I'd just like to know that. I'd like to understand what the story was and how they went about doing this. Let me make it abundantly clear. You only score 1 run. Who the F cares? You're not going to win. 99 times out of 100, you only score 1 run. You only get 3 hits. You're not going to win. I'd still like to know more because this is weird. It's weird what they did last night. And I get it that bad at bats and all of that is probably a bigger deal, but it's super weird how they went about handling this Tyler Wells, Dean Kramer situation. And I didn't really seem to get any declarative answer. Obviously, it had nothing to do with Dean Kramer. He was plenty available. He was ready to go. So it wasn't a situation where they had to do it this way. I can certainly understand the argument of like wanting Tyler Wells' innings to be at the major league level if he's going to be pitching, but why he had to start instead of Dean Kramer, I don't know. Dean Kramer had pitched well against the Blue Jays, and people have pointed out. Everything about this is weird. It's weird. And I never seem to get any sort of definitive answer about why it had to be this way. I get the, hey, somebody else had to give you innings because you are in a limit to what you could ask from your bullpen. Like, I understand all of those things. But why did it have to be that Tyler Wells pitched first last night? Nobody seems to be able to give me that answer. I don't get it. And then bring Dean Kramer out in a spot that he's uncomfortable with. Like, he hasn't pitched out of the bullpen in a long time. I don't understand this. Now, again, they scored one run. You score one run, you're going to lose. So this isn't the reason why the Orioles lost last night, but I am still confused by what the thought process was. What's more confusing, not really confusing, what's more troubling, of course, is the reality of the circumstances, the reality of being 4.5 games back. That's troubling. That's concerning. Doesn't mean that things are over. Doesn't mean something is impossible. Doesn't mean any of those things. Brandon Hyde was very clear that Dean Kramer will be right back in the rotation next time through. Okay. And again, I certainly get that you were going to need, if you were going to do this cockamamie thing with Tyler Wells, you were going to need innings because Lord knows he wasn't ready to go deep into a baseball game. But I am still bloody confused by what happened here. I threw out the scenario yesterday where maybe the Orioles are just kind of admitting they're like openly, we're just going to get through it. We'll use whatever pitchers we have. We're going to get through innings. I don't know. I'm sorry I'm sorry I didn't watch the game. I'm very sorry. Clearly you guys who watch the game probably are screaming at me like, we know the answers and you don't. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I just don't. No way of getting around that. I don't know what happened. I don't know the story. I went to see Van Morrison, which was pleasant. It was great news for me. Orioles are off tonight. They open up a series with the Red Sox tomorrow. Presumably Jordan Lyles is back in the rotation this weekend, and we are getting to the point where even winning series might not be enough. We kind of kept saying, like, as long as they're winning series, they'd be in good shape. They have to start winning like 5 out of 6 games. They can't afford to even be losing one in a series like this. That's just where they are. They're up against it. Time is not on their side. The season's not over, but there's no path for playing just over 500 baseball and having that be good enough to get in. If you are not concerned about that, if you've maintained, hey, the playoffs aren't that big of a deal, then okay, all good. And again, I'm appreciative of the season the Orioles have had. I'm just speaking practically. Practically at this point, with only a few weeks left in the season, they've got to start winning 5 out of 6, 5 out of 7 type of scenario in order for them to have a chance to get in. And it still requires somebody else slowing down. And right now, those teams are not showing any signs of that being the case. So I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I'm not trying to, be depressing, anything like that. This is the reality of the circumstances. And it goes back to the Orioles only scoring 1 run last night. And the offensive issues compounded by, a bizarro day where they didn't have any pitchers for a critical doubleheader on Monday, and just ends up kind of being a mess. It's really unfortunate circumstances they're in. Again, they're off and they face the Red Sox. It would be helpful if it was the Mariners because you're only 5 games back of them. Maybe you could make a dent in that. But it's the Red Sox who are basically done. I mean, like the Red Sox, they went back to being the crap team that they had like that moment where they were showing some signs of life, and you were like, oh man, maybe the Red Sox can be a factor. They've utterly fallen apart. They're now 4 games under 500. They are out. They're cooked. They're done ski. Somehow, the Nationals were the first team eliminated from the playoffs last night. Somehow that was the case. Obviously, the big story for me yesterday was Francis Tiafoe. My God. But what a day of tennis. The Tiafoe thing is just magical. I mean, it's magical. Because there's nothing fluky about it. He's playing the best tennis of his life. Kid from College Park, one of the great stories in sports history, and I know that it's been hammered home, so if for some reason you weren't aware of it before, and I know I've written about him before for PressBoxOnline.com, but kid from College Park, family that had nothing, slept on the floor, slept on the training tables at the JTCC, and here he is now in the semifinals of the U.S. Open. The first U.S. man to make the semifinals of the U.S. Open since Andy Roddick. It's insanity. And his serve has been untouchable. It's been untouchable. I thought Andrei Rublev was actually a more difficult matchup than Rafael Nadal was. He won it in straight sets. Now, it required 2 tiebreakers, but he won it in straight sets. Next up will be Carlos Alcaraz. That will be an ungodly test. But Alcaraz has now played back-to-back 5-set matches that have both gone past 2 a.m. What time did that end last night? 2:30, something like that? 5-hour marathon with Jannik Sinner. And I got through 4 sets, but I didn't. I tried. I really did try. I was like, the hell with it. We'll sleep in a week. But it wasn't meant to be for me. I did not make it through the 5th. The tennis last night, and I know in the tennis community there's a lot of talk about, for as great as it is and as kind of mythical as it is that they're playing all night, it's definitely not good for the sport. That, like, really last night was one of the best matches we have seen in years. Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, styles make fights, both very young, and guys are going to be going at it for a decade. The potential for one of the great rivalries in the next era of men's tennis. And it happened at a time where if you live on the East Coast, you kind of had no choice but to check out. I mean, like, it's a work night. It's a school night. You can't be up until 2:30 in the morning. And to say it's a problem that faces the U.S. Open, it's a tough thing to say. People watch in other parts of the world, too. That's kind of one of the issues that we have, is that we think of things through our lens. Whereas, people on the West Coast also watch these sports. People in Asia are also tennis fans. It's probably not ideal for people in Europe because the match was happening entirely overnight. I mean, it started at 3 in the morning or whatever in London. So maybe when people were waking up, they were like, holy crap, there's a match still going on. I'll take a look at this. It's a debate that I can't answer. There's always been something very mythical about primetime and late-night matches at the U.S. Open. It's been something we talked about for a long time. Could they bump it up and start it at 6:30? Yeah, but what would be the difference in a nighttime match ending at 2 a.m. instead of 2:30? Like, is that going to drastically change how many people are going to be able to stay up to watch it? I'm not opposed to them considering it, but they're also trying to play 4 matches on one day on one stadium, so if an afternoon match goes long, they're not going to be able to start at 6:30 anyway, and clearly they are trying to do what's best for ESPN, and ESPN wants their primetime coverage to start at 7, so I don't have an answer for any of that stuff other than sometimes these things happen in sports. Sometimes something goes on and there's a late-night event, and last night it was unbelievable. I mean, the shots in this match were unbelievable between Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. So it'll be Alcaraz and Tiafoe on Friday, I presume in the second semifinal. 1, because it's the one that involves Carlos Alcaraz and the American, so I think it's the far more appealing one, and ESPN will try to stack it that way. And 2, because these guys played a day later than Ruud and Khachanov did. So I assume that will be the first semifinal on Friday, and then the second one will be Tiafoe and Alcaraz. And they start the semis a little bit earlier, so they won't have that problem. The women's semifinals are both at night, but they start the men's semifinals late afternoon just in case, for some reason, both of them were to go to 5 sets. They try to avoid playing on until 2 a.m. And all I can tell you is, like, people keep saying, hey, does he have a chance? Yeah, he does. Tiafoe has a chance. Like, as crazy as it sounds, The dude could win the U.S. Open. He's definitely not the betting favorite against Alcaraz on Friday. But again, Alcaraz just played 2 5-setters. And he's young, and he's wiry, and he's in insane shape. So it probably won't wear him down, but you just never know. You just never know. And Tiafoe has had less time on court in recent matches. Like, he blitzed Diego Schwartzman. He dropped the 1 set to Nadal, but got the job done. He's moved pretty quickly through his last 3 matches. He does have that advantage going into Friday's semifinal. That was the story in my life. The other story in my life, by the way, coming up on the program today, I guess I haven't even done that. I'm all over the place. Coming up on the program today, Solomon Wilcots will join us in a couple of minutes. We'll preview the AFC North with him. Anthony Becht, who's now part of the Jets broadcast crew, will check in with us a little bit later on. We'll preview Joe Flacco and the Jets. We will make our picks for Week 2. Don't forget, Griffin and I have a side bet. I'll come back to that in a second. Pull up the replies on Twitter from last night because John from Little Rock apparently did the sandwich. So he sent us a video in the replies. Also, this morning we will hear segment number 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show with Justin Houston. Speaking of which, this week's Tyus Bowser Show was at Guilford Hall Brewery, which is an amazing place. I had not been yet. Shame on me. 1611 Guilford Avenue in Station North. What an immaculate establishment this is. The beer's great. The food is excellent. And the atmosphere is unreal. Like, you can't believe where you are. There are so many different levels and spaces, indoor, outdoor, and they have great events going on all the time. They do trivia. They do yappy hours. They do all sorts of great stuff. Plus, coming up this Sunday, the Ravens season kickoff party, starting at noon, 10% off for everyone wearing football apparel, $5 half liters, cocktail specials, and more. And then starting Sunday, they're going to be open 7 days a week at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. You need to check this place out. I mean, it is a gem. 1611 Guilford Avenue in Station North. And we will be back there for the Tyus Bowser Show on the first Tuesday of October. Did you find it?
Yeah, I did. There's 2 of them. Do you want me to play both?
Which one is the one of him consuming the sandwich?
Want the one of him
I want him consume.
Okay.
So the side bet that Griffin and I have for picks this week is the Richard Petty sandwich, the mayonnaise and black pepper, which just looks like an abomination. But of course, during Would You Rather Wednesday yesterday, John from Little Rock is like, I don't know, man. It looks pretty good to me. And I'm like, you psychopath. By the way, I did get an update from our buddy Bradley Bozeman, who said definitively he would. He would definitely, he would do it. That's 100%.
Just cuz?
Because, yes, this is the I'm not surprised, by the way, at all. Knowing Bradley, I'm not surprised that he would consume this sandwich. And I did say, Griffin and I are doing it next week. If we could get your review before that would be great. Now, they've got a game to play, and so I'm not sure like how that affects his diet. You know, football players, like Justin Houston, they brought him a pretzel on Tuesday night, and he was like, dude, I would love to, but I can't. I got a football game to play. Meanwhile, Tyus is like, well, I'm not playing on Sunday. You can go ahead and give me that pretzel. So we'll see if Bradley can do it or not beforehand. But John did it, and this is the one of him actually consuming the sandwich? All right, go ahead.
All right, I'm going to have the mayo sandwich now.
Now, can you describe how
he's
in heaven?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. He's I mean, you can hear him. He's chomping.
Yeah, I hear that part, but I need to see what is his face.
He's taking
a lot
2
of pepper,
bites.
a lot of mayo.
No reaction on his face.
It's delicious, he says. It's delicious.
Right, I'm going to have the mayo sandwich now.
John, I love you. You know I love you. You know you're one of my favorite humans. You know you're one of the best supporters I've ever had. I am so grateful for you. John and I actually, this is a true story, by the way. The first time we ever met each other, we shared a hotel room together in Houston, and we didn't know each other then.
I will say it looks like, because he posted a video of it before he ate it, and there's not quite as much pepper as the Richard Petty one from the picture yesterday.
You think? Yes. There's less pepper
I think
than
he
the
put
Petty
less
one?
pepper. I'm not sure if that would help or hurt, but
I don't think it can help. John, you know of anyone on the planet, you know how much I love you. Your boy Glenn is as big of a John and Little Rock fan as there gets. You know, every time Drew Forrester says something disparaging about you, you know I'm the one who steps in and says, stop it. What the hell, John? What the hell? One of us is going to try it. One of us is going to end up doing it. Either Griffin and I are going to have to, or maybe both of us if we tie, if we finish in a draw this week. We will both have to consume a Richard Petty sandwich next week with mayo and black pepper. John just did it for fun. I love you, buddy. You know that. You know how much I love you. Nick Kelly, I made it through about a set and a half, and I'm sorry I missed the rest of that match. I agree that Tiafoe might be better rested and just more mentally ready to win. I love both Carlos and Francis. Friday should be awesome. That's the other thing. And by the way, I also love Yannick Sinner, too. That was the tough part for me last night is all of these dudes, it's unbelievable. I keep trying to say, I'm going to be sad if Francis loses on Friday. Because I don't know that Francis is going to have 40 chances. Maybe this really is him declaratively moving into this territory. Maybe. But it's also possible he's just playing the best tennis of his life, and this is his chance. Whereas Carlos Alcaraz, I think there's no doubt that dude's going to have 100 chances to win slams. That guy is going to be in it for a long time. So by that measurement, I want it to be Francis. Plus, it's the American thing. Like, it's been since Andy Roddick. I want to see an American men's tennis player win a slam. And the fact that it would be a kid from Maryland would be, and the greatest story in the history of sports would be magical. But am I going to be angry if it's Carlos Alcaraz? No, because that dude is a joy and a half to watch play. That kid is so bloody good. It's going to be fun Friday. There's no doubt about it. Football season gets underway tonight. Joining us now, we're going to preview the AFC North. This man, of course, longtime NFL broadcaster. He's with Sirius XM NFL Radio. Of course, a former NFL safety himself. He is our friend, Mr. Solomon Wilcots, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Solomon, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to catch up with you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Well, Glenn, thanks for having me.
Solomon, I apologize. We got to get something worked out with the phone. We couldn't hear you particularly well. It might be the cord too, Griffin. I'm not sure. We're going to get that squared away, and then we're going to chat with Solomon Wilcots here on GCR, who I heard him on with Ryan Leaf on Sirius XM on Monday morning, and Ryan was big on the Ravens winning the AFC North. Solomon maybe not so much. Solomon, do I have you now?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. I'm sorry about that, sir. Thank you for taking the time for us. Greatly appreciated. Happy football season to you, first of all.
Yeah, we're excited. 2020 is going to be a fantastic season because the AFC is plenty loaded. We don't know who's going to come out of there.
That really is the crazy part about all of this. I've said that a couple of times. One of the biggest concerns I have about the Ravens has nothing to do with the Ravens. It's that I think they could be a really good football team this year, and it could still be difficult for them to try to break their way through in what is just like a murderer's row in the AFC this season.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, you just look at teams like the Chargers and the Raiders. Good coaching, good quarterbacking. They added to their arsenal. Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson added to that Chargers defense. And then you got Devontae Adams joining the Raiders offense, right, along with Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller. You know they're going to be explosive. Josh McDaniel, the new head coach there. The Chiefs have won their division, AFC West, 6 straight years. And the Broncos get Russell Wilson. So they're fully loaded in that division. And the AFC North is no different. I think we got a 4-team race. Last year, remember at the end of the 2020 season, 3 teams made the playoffs in the AFC North. Last year, the Bengals go from worst to first inside of that division. And now I think any of the 4 teams could end up winning it.
I mean, it's really insane. Your partner, Ryan Leaf, I actually talked to him the other day, and he was like, tell me who the worst quarterback is in the AFC West. And I'm like, I guess the answer is Carr, but he's pretty good. I mean, it's really nuts just how insanely loaded it is. Let's come to the North, obviously. I have struggled with this because I know the Bengals looked great a year ago, and I have said, as long as Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase stay healthy, the Bengals are going to be a problem for a very long time for everyone. But I don't know how to measure what they did specifically against the Ravens a year ago because the Ravens were just so insanely depleted. Like it's not, hey, every team deals with injuries. They were They were playing an XFL team for a couple of moments last year. How do you measure what the Ravens would be matched up against the Bengals if they do have Ronnie Stanley back this season, and if they do get their running backs back to full health and they can get back to doing what they want to do?
Well, I think if I'm not correct, I do believe the Bengals and the Ravens, they played earlier in the season, October 24th.
Yep.
That was a game where Marlon Humphrey played in that game. Ronnie Stanley played in that game.
No, Ronnie Stanley didn't. Ronnie Stanley did. You're
right
about
Marlon. Was he out that game?
Yeah,
okay.
he only played one game last year.
Yeah, that's right. He was only in one game. You're right. But, I mean, most of the secondary was there. Peters, I don't think, was there.
No, Peters
Marlon
didn't play. Yeah,
was. But I think that's a close. I think that was one of those games that it wasn't about the injuries that the Ravens eventually. I mean, we know Lamar Jackson played in that game. It was less about that and more about the matchup. I think the Bengals did some things defensively in terms of the way they schemed up Lamar Jackson and the offense, and then literally what the offense did to Martindale's defense. Don Martindale wouldn't stop blitzing. Well, I don't know if you know this, Joe Burrow was the number one rated quarterback last year versus the blitz. He was the last guy you wanted to blitz. And even game 2, he still kept blitzing. Ultimately, I think it got Martindale relieved of his duties there in Baltimore. But so you're right. The Bengals are a handful. I don't think you look at what the Bengals did against the Ravens to try to determine how good or how real the Bengals really are. Look at them against the Kansas City Chiefs. They played them twice in the final month of the season in December and then in the AFC Championship game and held them to 3 points in the second half of both games.
Yeah.
Okay, look at what they did against the number 1 seed Titans, where the quarterback gets sacked 9 times but keep getting up slinging it. I think you found out about the competitiveness of Joe Burrow and how he manages the game. Instead of throwing picks under duress, he'd rather eat it and live to fight another day. So I think you got to look outside of the small sample size of their 2 games against the Ravens to try to determine how good the Bengals really are by looking at how they performed against the rest of the league to determine what they're going to be in 2022.
Solomon Wilcots with us here on GCR. Solomon, I understand everything you're saying. For me, in trying to judge the Ravens, the difficult part about the entirety of last year, and obviously remembering that they got off to an 8-3 start despite this, was they never could run the ball. Like, they just didn't have any of their running backs, right? They tried to piecemeal it and bring guys in off the street. They were never able to establish the run. And what we know about the Ravens and in the Lamar Jackson era is that's what they want to do, and that's what we assume they're going to do this year. And that's the part that's difficult for me in figuring out, because I don't know how to judge it by last year, is they were completely unable to. They were essentially forced to abandon their strategy a year ago. Presumably, they're going to be in a better place to do that. I don't know the styles make fights argument here, right? Like, if the Ravens can get back to doing what they did so well in 2019, 2020, can they get right back on the path to being, the team to beat in the division? Can they get right back on the path to being a team that can pursue winning a Super Bowl? Or, is it just too difficult? Is there competition doing things that are still better than being a team that's dominant at running the football?
Yeah, see, I think they need to. I think it's not going to be a question of can they run the ball in 2022. I do know that after Lamar left, that's when they became more a team that couldn't run the ball effectively. Remember, they ran it so well with Lamar early in the season. They still finished 3rd in the NFL with 145 rush yards per game, despite, as you mentioned, being inept in that area as they got closer to the end of the season, particularly once Lamar left in those final 6 games. But I think this year they don't come into the season concerned if they can run it. I think they're concerned if can they provide balance, can they throw it when they have to if they fall behind on the scoreboard in critical games late in the season, and can Lamar Jackson continue to improve? Because I thought he did last year when he was out. Mm-hmm. He improved in terms of throwing from the pocket, and that continues to be a point of emphasis when it comes to his development. So I think those are the real key things. And then you're right, consistency on the offensive line, and then what does this defense look like? I mean, how are they going to match up with a T. Higgins, a Tyler Boyd, a Jamar Chase? Because it didn't look good last year, I can tell you that. But hey, they were missing a lot of those pieces.
Yep.
What does it look like when they've got all their pieces in the secondary? Those things are going to be very critical. I think this is a really important year for the Ravens, just in terms of how do they fit in this division, considering Deshaun Watson, with the future of the Cleveland Browns with Deshaun Watson, future of the Bengals with Joe Burrow, and how do the Ravens continue to be able to compete within a division that's changing around them with franchise quarterbacks on some of those other teams.
Solomon, one of the things as we talk about Lamar is the last time we saw him, and there is so much nonsensical criticism that exists with Lamar Jackson. It's one of the absurd things that really permeates the football mindscape, is this nonsense that gets thrown around about Lamar Jackson and not being a good passer. But the reality is, where you can fairly criticize him, those 4 games before he got hurt, he was brutal when he was facing cover 0. He was not making good decisions, and he wasn't taking what was there underneath, and he just played very poorly for that 4-game stretch after playing some of his best football earlier in the season. Do you assume that as this season gets underway, that's what he's going to face? That defensive coordinator is going to look and say, well, why wouldn't we just keep doing that until he proves that he can beat it? And how does he get better in that area specifically, if that is the way that opposing teams go about trying to handle him this year?
So look, usually when you have cover 0, you have a blitz, right? Teams aren't going to go cover 0 and just sit there and wait and give you all day to throw the ball. They're going to try to rush you and get the sack immediately and try to overwhelm your protection systems. The way teams started playing him, and I thought it started with the Bengals. I think the Bengals gave a lot of people some understanding of, how you need to play against Lamar. That is a controlled rush. Trap him in the pocket. Don't go all out to get him, because A, you won't catch him. B, he'll find an escape lane out of there. Now he's just gashing you. But no, you rush to contain and don't let him out of there. And now he's got to throw it from deep inside the well. There's a lot of quarterbacks that's, if you said, look, if you force Tom Brady to do that, he just shreds you. So, that's not what you try to do to Tom, but you're trying to do that to Lamar, because he'd rather get out on the edges and throw there, or hit the tight end quick over the middle. Some of these predetermined throws that come off the RPO and play action pass type of scheme. So, yeah, he's going to get more of that. But, look, he's a developing quarterback, but he is still must-see TV. This is a guy that still is a great competitor. He's still the guy that finds a way to win games and change the face, I think, of that organization. And without him, where would you be? I mean, so I think we all want perfection. There's some things Joe Burrow can get better at, too. I can tell you, he's a young guy. He holds on to the ball a little too long, can get rid of it a little sooner. That's why 9 sacks. That's why 70 sacks 1 year ago. But I can tell you this, ain't nobody sitting around here complaining because he's that good. And I just think we need to learn to appreciate athletes who are difference makers. As people can talk about Lamar Jackson, can he throw? How do you lead the league in touchdown passes and still have people question
it's
your
absurd.
passes?
Yeah, it's absurd. I mean, that's absolute nonsense. I mean, my God, Solomon.
Right.
And again, probably still a racism too. And it's just anyway, it's a conversation for a different day.
I mean, I don't get it. I don't know how we get the parse. I mean, the guy has done it. Here's another thing. We praise in Cincinnati. We praise Joe Burrow because we know he's a football-only guy, because you don't see his face plastered over these great endorsements that have to be coming his way. All these endorsement deals got to be sitting on his desk that he hasn't signed yet, because he's trying to focus and learn how to win games.
Right.
Lamar Jackson is a guy that the same way.
Yep.
He doesn't have huge endorsement deals because he's focusing on the game. He's trying to get better at his craft. But I can tell you right now, it's not filtered the same way. That story is told about Joe Burrow, but that story is not told about Lamar Jackson.
Well, Solomon,
for whatever reason, he doesn't have an agent, so he doesn't have this, and he does. It's such a wrong narrative because the people telling these stories, truly don't want to give him credit for being a student of the game like a Joe Burrow is a student of the game.
Well, White's different about those two guys, Solomon. White is it? What?
The perception people have of those two. I'll just go with that.
Yeah, that's what it is. Hey, Solomon, before I let you go, if I could, the other two teams in the division, it feels like for the most part, we're being dismissive of in this market. That there's no way that the Browns can survive going that long without their quarterback, and that, hey, the Steelers don't have a quarterback. And I keep kind of saying to myself, yeah, but the Steelers didn't really have a quarterback a year ago either. And I know that, like, they had a guy with moxie and they had a guy with experience, but we all watched Ben a year ago. It wasn't very good. There wasn't a particularly high standard that needed to be met of the actual quarterback play. Are we being too dismissive of the other two teams in this division?
Absolutely. You heard me start by saying I think we got 4 teams that it's a 4-team race, a full 4-team race. There's a reason why Mike Tomlin's gone 15 seasons and never had a losing season in 15 years. The guy can coach, so he can get the most out of his players. Even if you think that Mitchell Trubisky is a C-level player, Mike Tomlin can get B-level material, B-level production out of this guy. And the offensive line isn't the best, but his defense has led the league in sacks, or I should say 50 or more sacks each of the last 5 years. They're the only defense in the NFL to be able to boast of that claim. 50 or more sacks for 5 straight seasons. They led the league 1 year ago with 55, and they got a secondary that can hold up with that kind of pressure. So this George Pickens kid, he's a hell of a player. He makes their wide receiving core better. Deontay Johnson ranked in the top 10 in multiple categories last year in receptions and receiving yards. And Chase Claypool was only about 150 yards shy of 1,000 yards himself as a receiver. So I think we underestimate the Steelers. They'll be formidable. And when it comes to the Browns, I argue the Browns have the best offensive line in the division. I argue they have the best the backfield in the division with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
They have one of the best edge rushers in Myles Garrett in the division. They have a top shutdown corner in Denzel Ward. When you have players at those positions, it usually equates to winning. Offensive line, great backfield, edge rusher, shutdown corner. That's what every team hopes for. So the Browns have a roster. They're just waiting for a quarterback to show up to not only be productive, but to lead the football team. And they may have that. So we'll have to just wait and see. But listen, I don't think they're playing the short game. It's clear the Browns are playing the long game. And if you look at it that way, you could say that they've insured against the downside, and the future for the Cleveland Browns look pretty bright.
Solomon Wilcots, at Solomon's Wisdom on Twitter is how you follow him. Sirius XM's NFL Radio. Solomon, is there anything else I can plug for you, sir?
Go check out the Believe in Bengals podcast. Love for you to check that out. Tell us what you think. You can find it on the Believe Network at Believe.com, BLEAV.com, Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. But we'd certainly love you to take a listen to it and let us know what you think.
We will definitely be in touch again as we get closer to Bengals week, and it should be a fun season. Solomon, greatly appreciate you taking the time for us this morning, man. Thank you so much.
All righty. All the best to you. Take care. Thank you.
Solomon Wilcots, Sirius XM NFL Radio, joining us here on GCR. Hey, see Olympic athletes in action as the nation's best horses and riders compete in one of the world's premier equestrian events at the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, October 13th through 16th in Cecil County. Can we take a break here? Are we all right? Good. Then we will do that. When we come back in, we're going to preview the Jets. We, of course, know now that Joe Flacco will be the quarterback, and apparently will be the quarterback for a few weeks. Really weird bit where they brought Zach Wilson back to practice this week, and then they were like, ha-ha, JK, he can't play till week 4. It's so strange. Like, what is that? I don't know. Maybe just because I didn't pay attention, like maybe he suffered a setback or something like that. Just a really weird bit. But we'll talk to Anthony Becht about what to expect from Joe Flacco and the Jets on Sunday when we come back in. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
This is the sound of 70,000 Ravens fans cheering a win. And this is the sound of Diane Heil of Annapolis cheering her own Ravens win.
Woohoo! Seats for 20 years!
Last year, Diane played Maryland Lottery Raven Scratch-Offs and won Raven season tickets for 20 years. Look for Raven Scratch-Offs at any Maryland Lottery retailer. You could win up to $100,000 or great Ravens prizes. Take it from Diane.
It's surreal, and it's exciting, and I literally can't wait.
Please play responsibly.
Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The 2022 baseball season is in full swing, and the future is brighter than ever for your Baltimore Orioles. I'm Paul Valley.
And I'm Zach Goodman.
And together we bring you the Bat Around every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon with everything you need to know about the Orioles and baseball as a whole. From veterans like Cedric Mullins, Austin Hayes, and Ryan Mountcastle,
to young stars like Adley Rutschman, Grayson Rodriguez, and DL Hall.
We've got you covered for every game, every pitch,
and every debut.
You can watch us at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or you can listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. So join us live on the Bat Around every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here at PressBox Sports.
Come in for Glory Burgers, Glory Wings. There's glory for everyone at Glory Days Grill. Enjoy their award-winning burgers, ribs, and wings, or try the fresh salads, hand-cut salmon, or the scrumptious sandwiches. Yum! Come in for the daily specials every weekday, like $7.99 burgers on Mondays and $6.99 nachos on Thursdays. Dine in and let us serve you, or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and take it home. That's glorydaysgrill.com for a location near you. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
It's statistically proven that the show sounds better if you're not wearing pants. Like me, right now. You're listening to Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue here on a Thursday edition of the program. Today's show is also brought to you by Simply the Bets. Every Tuesday morning at 11:40 a.m. for Simply the Bets, which is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, as we get you ready for the week in sports betting. Every other Thursday for Weekend at Bookies. Didn't do it, not doing it today, but it'll be back next week and back on that every other week schedule for Weekend at Bookies, brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. I was asked if I saw Lamar Jackson apparently went on Mike Golick Jr.'s podcast and reiterated he wants to be in Baltimore. I don't know if that was, I don't know why that specifically would be something we would be debating about. I don't think that we've been given any indication. I guess maybe if you read too much into him liking that picture of him in a Dolphins uniform, then you're terrified that he just wants out of Baltimore. I mean, the guy literally got a tattoo with purple wings. Like, I think it's abundantly clear that the dude wants to be in Baltimore. Now, whatever's going on with the negotiations, whatever's going on with whether he wants a fully guaranteed contract or not, whatever the situation is, I heard a rumor that maybe you know what? No, I don't want to be that guy. I'm not going to tell you the rumor that I heard because I didn't confirm it. I don't want to say anything out of turn. I'll make it very. I was told by someone who would have knowledge that perhaps the issue is less about the fully guaranteed concept and more about the total number. That what they're fighting for is a very specific number, and that number has been balked at. That's all I'll say, because I don't want to tell you too much, admitting that I only got it from a single source, and while I have every reason to believe this source, it's unfair for me to say that makes it fact. But we'll see. Of course, Lamar reiterated yesterday that Friday is the deadline for him. If that's the deadline, then maybe that pushes something over the next 24 hours to get done. We will find out. What we do know for sure is that he'll be on the field Sunday to take on the Jets up in New Jersey. Joining us now to preview the Jets, this man is now part of the Jets broadcast crew. He does pregame shows for them. He's a former NFL tight end. He's also a head coach now in the XFL. He is Anthony Becht, and he's with us here on GCR. Anthony, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking some time for us.
You got it, Glenn. Thanks for having me on, bud.
Hey, man, this sets up to be like really good storyline football on Sunday, right? It's Joe Flacco going up against the Baltimore Ravens. I want to be practical about this because I feel like there's two different things here. And there's people in Baltimore that are genuinely concerned that Joe Flacco will raise his game to the highest level that it could ever possibly be for a chance to go out and beat the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday. But practically, what is Joe Flacco as a quarterback in 2022?
Yeah, I think internally for Joe, I mean, he may not say it, but he's going to have some emotions in this game. He's going to want to go out and to himself and just prove to him and everybody else that he's still got it. I'll say this about Joe, man. He's in an ideal situation right now with this football team. He's got a totally revamped offensive line that to me is a top 10, top 12 offensive line when they're healthy, and they will be healthy in this game. He's got a lot more weapons. Joe Douglas put together a really nice roster from free agents and draft picks over the last 2 years to where if you were to say, okay, if Joe wants to step in a position and actually have some type of legitimate success, this would be the opportune time to do it. And it just so happens that he gets to go against his old football team that where he started it all. So I think it is a great storyline. I think he'll play well. I think you'll see him really execute at a very high level with this system, and he's got a lot of weapons now at his disposal, whereas the last year or so where he was coming in as a backup in those circumstances, the team was just banged up and didn't have the personnel around him to have success.
Is there any world at all, Anthony, where he plays so well in the first couple of games that they have to think about whether or not they go back to Zach Wilson? Or is it so imperative that Wilson be the guy that it doesn't matter if they're 3-0 and he's thrown for 300 yards in every game? They have to get their answer on Zach Wilson.
I think that does matter. If Flacco's 3-0 and the Jets are rolling, trust me, the organization from the top, it's about filling the stands and making sure that stadium is filled to the top, and then also winning football games. So, yeah, that's a real legitimate issue. I don't know if it's an issue. I think it's a good thing. You just ride it out. Ride the positive wave till things change. It gives Zach some time. Clearly, you want to have Zach there game one. You don't have him. You want to see how all these pieces work with him. But, you're kind of dealt with the cards at hand. And it does open up that scenario, I believe, moving forward. If Joe were to go maybe even, 2-1, depending on how close that one loss was. But I think right now Jets want to win football games. And ultimately, if they have that problem, they'll feel like that's a good one to have because it means that their team is winning football games.
Anthony Becht with us here on GCR as we preview the Jets. They get ready to face the Ravens in Week 1 on Sunday. Anthony, what you reference, that they've drafted some wide receivers the last couple of years. They have a little bit more, skill position talent. Is there a belief that, okay, this is now a referendum on this franchise this season? Like, we've given you the time. Now it's time to go win. or there might have to be some more changes here afoot?
No, I think the expectation level for this year, at least from my eyes, is a big jump. Now, what that big jump is, I don't know if that's a 500 team, that's a 9-8 team, a competitive team every week. I think the overall goal is by this time next year, this team better be making a run to the playoffs with the guys that they have. So I think this year you want to see that big jump. Obviously, you're always going to have issues, injuries, things that happen, and you want to keep that at a minimum. It seems like this is something that happens with the Jets frequently, year in and year out. But, between Joe and these first couple games and then a healthy Zach Wilson, this team should be trending in a positive direction. And by year 3 of the new regime, they feel like now there's no excuse. We have the pieces. We have the players. We have new additions heading into year 3 that could potentially help even more. Now they got to really make that push and become a competitive team that actually pushes for the playoffs, if not makes the playoffs.
I know it hurt to lose Mekhi Becton, who was a big part of that. Anthony, the interesting thing, there are a couple names that I want to bring up with you. One, I mentioned the wide receivers. I was really high on Denzel Mims. He was a guy that I thought was perfect, big body, could maybe fit, knowing that in Baltimore you have to be asked to block a little bit because that's what the Ravens do. They run the ball and run the ball and run the ball more. There was a lot of awkwardness, I know, in the preseason. Where are they? Has everything been smoothed over? Is there still maybe a scenario where Denzel Mims is on the block at the trade deadline? I ask, knowing the Ravens are still quite thin at wide receiver, and maybe I wouldn't mind so much if that was a yes.
Well, look, there's an incredible value, at least from the Jets organization, for Denzel Mims' talents. Denzel has really not taken the steps mentally and physically to get himself prepared to be on the field earlier than now year 3. And I get it. I think everybody in the organization since camp started has basically said Denzel Mims has been a star. He's been a guy that's shown that, okay, he's ready to go. But unfortunately, the fact that it's the 3rd year, there are some different pieces now that were not there that are there now with him in this 3rd season. So, look, he's one hit away from being in the starting lineup. He's going to be in the mix. The question is, mentally, can he stay focused to continue trending forward into the season because of the fact that he feels like he should be a starter? I think all that stuff was nonsense. It should have never happened. He decided to go that route, but I really feel that they value him highly, and I think he can be a contributor for this team moving forward.
One guy that everyone in Baltimore was when the Ravens traded back into the first round, the way that it worked out, everyone in Baltimore said, they're going to go get Jermaine Johnson because they don't have much going on at edge rush. They need an edge rusher, and this guy has slid down in the draft. This is the guy. And then they took a center. And then a pick later, the Jets take Jermaine Johnson. I think a lot of people are confused about why the guy slid in the draft. What have you seen from him? What are the expectations for Jermaine Johnson?
He's everything you want. I think he's a tremendous value for the Jets at that, drafting him at that position. He dominated the college level. He's got all the quickness, speed, pass rush moves that you want. There's a power issue, obviously, that growth within the game. He's very astute. He's very smart. I've spoken to him several times. He's dialed in, and he's going to be a guy that's going to be productive. They are very deep in the defensive line. I mean, I don't know if a lot of these positions, the Jets, I think we've seen it when they made their cuts. A lot of their players got waived and got picked up before they were even hitting the open market. So they feel like they've done a nice job of bringing talented players in. Carl Lawson is back. He gets to learn from him. JFM, Quinnen Williams, all these guys. They got Jacob Martin from Houston, who's a unique pass rusher as well. So he's going to find his space when he does. He's going to be really productive because of the other guys around him. So it really puts the Jets in a really favorable spot from a defensive line standpoint, at least being fresh throughout the entire game and bringing constant pressure and attacking those teams with it.
Just another minute or two here with Anthony Becht from the Jets broadcast crew. He's with us on Glenn Clark Radio. Anthony, there's so many, obviously. You mentioned Joe Douglas. Of course, there have been lots of Baltimore connections to this Jets roster. That makes all the sense in the world. It's not just Joe Flacco, but C.J. Mosley and even guys that are lower on the depth chart. But A guy I wanted to ask you about, because he made the roster after changing positions, and I actually think he's going to join us on the show tomorrow morning, is Lawrence Cager, who's a Baltimore kid. He went to Calvert Hall, and it's really interesting to me. He was a wide receiver, converted to tight end, and made the 53-man roster this year. I know he's maybe a little bit deeper on the depth chart. Is he a guy that's going to have an opportunity to try to find his way at a new position this season?
Yeah, they love him. They really love his transition and what he's done. He's the best route-running tight end they have. Now, he's not obviously the right fit from the weight standpoint. He's still growing his body and learning the skill sets of the tight end. But they saw a tremendous value to keep him around. The league is trending differently. You don't have to be a tremendous blocker anymore. You have to be suitable. But anytime you can bring wide receiver skill set in a big body, I think that bodes well. I think he's in a nice place right now. They like what he's bringing into the table. I don't know how they'll use him. Maybe it's a 2-minute situation. They have depth now at that position. But it was good enough for them to say, you know what, we want to keep him around because of the growth that he's had. So, yeah, I like him a lot. I didn't think they were going to get rid of him. I thought that it was going to be tough to part ways, and clearly they felt the same. So I don't know about this year, what he'll bring to the table, but I think moving forward, he's going to be bring value to this football team.
That's very cool. We're really happy for him. He's a great kid. And then I'll wrap with this. I know it's weird to say the word upset because it's week 1, and who knows what any team is in the NFL going into week 1. But the folks in Las Vegas think that it would be an upset if the Jets would beat the Ravens in week 1. So give me the roadmap to you, Anthony. Like, if they're going to do this, if the Jets are going to start the season by beating the Baltimore Ravens, what's the roadmap for them doing that?
Well, I love the fact that there's some distractions for Lamar right now.
Yeah,
he's talking about his contract. Hopefully that's something that's swirling, and maybe in those behind the closed doors meetings, he's hearing things that he may not like hearing, and you never know how that treats the mental side of a player when normally an agent's doing those things. So that's number one. Number two is finding a way to contain them. Historically the Jets defense have not bode well versus quarterbacks that can move around. And I know Lamar obviously is really a true passing / runner. He can do both at a very high level. And the tight end position has always been a problem. So, you bring in a guy like Jordan Whitehead now, LaMarcus Joyner. You feel like defensively you made some of those moves. I think also the fact that the safety position is an aggressive position for being in the box can really help the Jets put a little bit of a contain on Lamar, but ultimately it's how do you sustain the run game and really force him to do everything from the pocket. I don't know if you can do that. He's got to be off a little bit. I think the first game's always a little bit of a calculated kind of wait and see process for any team in week 1. So I do think the Jets will be a tough opponent for the Ravens. I don't see this being a one-sided game at all. I do believe Joe Flacco is going to have success in this football game, and I'm interested to see all the new pieces on defense for the Jets and how they play. It's just totally revamped. Von Alexander, all these guys, Sauce Gardner, the defensive line we talked about is much deeper. There's a lot more going on in the positive than the negative than the past with the Jets. So I really believe this is a matchup where you're going to find yourself in an interesting game.
At Anthony_Becht is how you follow him on Twitter. Jets pre- and post-game. Can you do me a favor, sir? Can you find the Ravens some talent on your XFL St. Louis team this season? Could you try to work on that for us? We could use a couple more.
Hey, no doubt. There's a lot to weed through right now. We're trying to build our board and find our players. But, yeah, man, we're going to try to develop as many as possible. I'd love to see my whole roster go to the NFL next year, but looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Hey, Anthony, thank you so much for taking the time for us, man. Congratulations on that gig, and looking forward to seeing what's next for you. Appreciate you doing this.
Thanks, Glenn. Have a good one, man.
Anthony Becht, the New York Jets broadcast crew, getting us ready for Ravens-Jets coming up on Sunday. Former NFL tight end, and, yeah, he'll be the coach of the St. Louis team in the XFL. I'm such a weird place. I love Joe Flacco, and probably even a little bit more. No, that's not fair. Joe and I were never close. I think I've tried to explain this. I think a lot of people assumed that because I had so many moments with Joe that meant that we were close. We never were close. If over the years, if I would ask Joe to do something, I would get a response 1 out of every 10 times, I would say. And that's fine. That's not – I get it. If I'll pull the curtain back. That's sort of how this business works. Ask Griffin as he's been trying to book guests. He's been learning how difficult it is. These guys just don't need to do these things. I mean, we're talking about multimillionaires. They just don't need to worry about what's happening over at Press Box or any of these places. So I don't ever want to portray that I was close with Joe. I had some clearly incredible moments for my career that Joe was involved with, and times that I got a lot of attention. Nothing more significant than that night in Perry Hall, of course, where he said, I think I'm the best quarterback in football. And because of that, and I've never hidden from this, it is kind of neat to me. It was not my goal that night, but it is neat to me that when Ravens fans watch the movie about the Ravens winning the Super Bowl for the rest of their lives, they see Drew and I's dumb faces sitting there at the beginning of it, setting the tone for the story. I can't lie. As a kid that grew up here that, is as much of a fan as I can be given what I do for a living, I can't hide from that. That's a neat thing. It's a neat thing that one day my kids who are Ravens fans are going to be like, I want to watch the movie about the Ravens winning the Super Bowl, and they're going to turn it on, and they're going to be like, holy crap, that's Dad. And in that way, I'm appreciative. But I was more appreciative of the fact that I liked talking to Joe. Joe I thought was refreshingly honest. As it's funny because his father, of course, labeled him as being painfully dull. And Joe was a dude that one night we were out doing an event, and he just went on this rant about Tim Tebow and how ESPN covered Tim Tebow. And it was hilarious, and it got lots of media play, and it was fun for me, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed him. So many athletes are so guarded. This was a prominent quarterback of a successful winning franchise who was willing to let his guard down and just talk about, how stupid it was that all they talked about on national media was Tim Tebow when other teams were winning. I appreciated it. I enjoyed it. It was refreshing. I liked it. I liked Joe Flacco. And then, of course, he delivered almost singularly the Ravens' second Super Bowl in their franchise history. I'm not trying to diminish anybody else. I think Anquan Boldin deserves a lot of credit, too. I think it's Joe Flacco 1, Anquan Boldin 2, and insert whoever else you want to insert there, because I don't think there was a definitive number 3. I'm again, you could say during the season Ray Rice was really good, but during the playoffs he wasn't. I guess Dennis Pitta, Jacoby Jones would be the next guy. It was that group of guys, right? It was Flacco 1, Bolden 2, and then however you want to put it, Jacoby or Pitta, and Torrey was significant as well. It was a mediocre defense that had its moments. Obviously, Corey Graham had a monster game in Denver and was probably high on that list because of it. But almost singularly, he delivered the Ravens their second Super Bowl. I am eternally grateful for Joe Flacco. The first great quarterback the Ravens ever had. And somebody would say, well, great, really? Like, yeah, I get it, but you have to – this is where the rest of the world can't possibly understand what the quarterback position looked like in Baltimore until Joe Flacco arrived. In 20 – I'm trying to do the math. So in the 12 years before Joe Flacco got here, there were 2 seasons of decent quarterback play. There was Vinny Testaverde's first season. There was Steve McNair's 2006. That's the list. It was a wasteland of quarterback play. So yeah, when everybody else in the NFL was making fun of the idea that Joe Flacco was elite, the reality was in Baltimore, it was everything we could ask for. So I do have emotions that strike when we talk about Joe Flacco and the idea that the Ravens are going to play Joe Flacco. By the way, we're into hour number 2 of the show. It's also brought to you by Glory Days Grill, where the fall seasonal menu is coming. We'll be here next week. Can't wait to try it. Can't wait to tell you more about it. In the meantime, the best wings, ribs, and burgers you could ever ask for. Cover everything in the Korean No. 2 sauce. By the way, that's got to be on the list now. I wanted to get a burger, and I wanted to put the No. 2 sauce on the burger. That's my next play. Remind me I got to do that.
I will.
GloryDaysGrill.com is the website for you to get your order in. I say all these things to say that I'm not conflicted about Joe Flacco on Sunday. I'm grateful for Joe Flacco, and if Joe Flacco goes out and plays well, I will feel good for Joe Flacco. As I said yesterday, I can't tell you that means I want Joe Flacco to go out and play well because, as I said before, I want the Ravens to play well. And if Joe Flacco plays well, then it's kind of difficult for the Ravens defense to have played well also. Is a scenario where Joe Flacco plays well but the Ravens win, is that, kind of a pleasant thought for a lot of people? Sure, it's a pleasant thought. But at the same time, again, it means that the Ravens defense would not have had an outstanding game on Sunday. And we'd be sitting here wondering about the Ravens defense going into week 2. And, I don't know if you've heard that there's a matchup with Josh Allen looming in a couple of weeks. Matchup with the Dolphins that looks a little bit trickier now with Tyreek Hill on the field. So the Bengals are not that far away. So I can't tell you that that's what I want. I get the conflict. I understand the conflict of, hey, Anthony Becht just said, hey, there is some world where maybe Joe Flacco plays really well for the first 3 weeks. And he's got a chance to be the quarterback. They just say, hey, dude, sorry, Zach, this guy's playing too well. We can't go back. And so you say to yourself, yeah, well, I kind of want him to play well because I want him to get that opportunity. I get it. I understand loving Joe and respecting and appreciating Joe. I understand all of those feelings. But I can't elevate them above what's best for the Ravens. To me, in the end, that's the only thing that matters. What's best for the Ravens. And I hope that, next week Joe Flacco plays brilliantly. And he's playing the rest of the division, so I hope he goes 3-1 against the AFC North this season. I hope he plays so well the next couple of weeks.
That would be perfect.
Gets to be the greatest thing that could ever happen. I don't think Joe Flacco is going to get to hold on to the job. My gut tells me that they have to get their answer on Zach Wilson, and even if he plays well in the first 3 weeks, they've got to go back as soon as Wilson can play. They've got to play him because they have to know. They have to figure out the future of their franchise. That is the most significant thing that's going to happen. But it would be awesome if that were to be the case. That's when we say conflicted, I'm not really conflicted. Yes, it would be tough for me if at the end of the day the Ravens win 34-28 and Joe Flacco played a great game and people are talking about how well Joe Flacco played. I will have some small part of me that would say good for Joe. I'm happy for him. But I can't tell you it's what I want. I can't tell you I would be excited about that in the moment because clearly something has to have gone wrong for that to be the case. There's questions we've been asking about the Ravens' edge rush. If Joe Flacco, who is a statue, is able to stand into the pocket, get comfortable, and throw the ball all day, those questions are going to get louder. If that's how they do against Joe Flacco, how are they going to do against Josh Allen? Who can move? So that's where we are. But appreciative. It's a bummer that it's not in Baltimore because it would be neat to give Joe Flacco a big ovation before the game and let him have his flowers and the whole thing. But that's it. That's what's going on. Today's show also brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Best place to hang out, watch, bet on games. And the thing is, this Sunday, if you don't know yet where you're watching the game, then the place to be will be the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. But really, it'll be the Hall at Live at Live Casino and Hotel. Because if you get down this week and make a $50 football bet of any kind and you're a Live Rewards member, you'll be registered for the FanDuel Combine happening in the Hall at Live on Sunday afternoon. Food provided, tremendous atmosphere for watching the games. They'll have the kiosks moved in to the Hall at Live so you can bet right there at the Combine. Plus, they've got games, prizes, giveaways. It's just going to be an incredible atmosphere. It's an immaculate venue, and it's going to be an incredible atmosphere for watching Week 1, including Ravens-Jets on Sunday. But you got to get the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel this week. Put down a $50 football bet, and if you're a Live Rewards member, you'll be registered for the FanDuel Combine this Sunday. We will make our picks for the week. Ken Zalis joins us next. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
What's up, everyone? This is Tyus Bowser, and I'm excited to tell you that I'm back for Season 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show in partnership with Pressbox and Great Ace Memorabilia. Join us on Tuesday nights throughout the season as I'll be heading all over town with my special guests. And, of course, our co-hosts, Glenn and Rita. Or is it Rita and Glenn? What is it? I look forward to meeting you guys and talking a little bit about football and a lot about life. And if you happen to miss the show, you can now catch a replay Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. Get all of your details for the Tyus Bowser Show right now at PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, September 20th at Skipjack's Crab Deck in Middle River. It's brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Grill and Maryland Vascular Specialists.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Leon Twyman and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and offer you a few winners. And every other Thursday at 11:40, tune in for Weekend at Bookies as Andrew Stecca and Alloy Sports' Brad Kronthal help make you some money for the weekend. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
This is the sound of 70,000 Ravens fans cheering a win. And this is the sound of Diane Heil of Annapolis cheering her own Ravens win.
Woohoo! Seats for 20 years!
Last year, Diane played Maryland Lottery Raven Scratch-Offs and won Raven season tickets for 20 years. Look for Raven Scratch-Offs at any Maryland Lottery retailer. You could win up to $100,000 or great Ravens prizes. Take it from Diane.
It's surreal, and it's exciting, and I literally can't wait.
Please play responsibly.
Don't forget that full episodes of the show are available for free on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. But warning, you get what you pay for. You're listening to Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue on a Thursday edition of the program. Hey, coming up a little bit later on today, Stan the Fan Charles, Gary Stein, and Vinny Serrato are going to be getting together to talk a little football and preview the season. 7 o'clock tonight, ahead of the Bills-Rams game. You can hang out with Stan the Fan, Gary Stein, and Vinny Serrato, of course, former GM, now over on 105.7 The Fan, and preview the season on Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. And if you miss it live, you'll be able to catch it tomorrow, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. Stan the Fan Charles, Gary Stein, Vinny Serrato tonight at 7. It is time for us to make our picks, and my God, they cannot get worse for your boy. I'd like to hope. This man actually had a pretty good first week. Turns out
he's leading the way, I believe.
He is indeed sitting alone in first place. He avoided all the big numbers, and that proved to be a smart strategy in week 1. Now, of course, we introduce NFL games, and I don't think he knows anything about the NFL, so we'll be all right. He is our buddy Ken Zalis, the retired Ken Zalis, and he's with us here on GCR. What's up, pal? How are you?
You have more time to research these games.
Is that what it is? Now you got nothing else going. You got nothing else going on. So, all right. So we're not doing the fantasy show because you don't know anything about fantasy football any longer. But I'm still going to have you answer my questions each week. So Ezekiel Elliott or Michael Thomas?
Elliott, got to see Thomas be healthy for at least a game.
I think you're right about that. I think you're right about that, but like there is just a small part of me that's like, yeah, but don't we need to see Ezekiel Elliott too? Like, don't we need to figure out what that is?
Yeah, but in some of these cases where, especially the running backs that, may have been a little banged up at the end of the year, and, in Zeke's case, I mean, he went through a full preseason with no news whatsoever as far as any injuries or lingering effects. And I know you got the Tony Pollard thing, but if we're not going to use them in week 1, when are we going to use them?
Right.
I mean,
I hear you. By the way, and I am concerned about that. I really am concerned that, like, the story is it's just going to be a 50-50 split for him or less, like, because at points last year it was far less than a 50-50 split. I'm nervous about it, but he was, like, sitting there, and I think it was the 4th round, and I'm like, what do I do? And by the way, it was also a league in which I had already taken a risk on Saquon Barkley in the 3rd, so I'm like, Jesus Christ. This is the roster I've got. I've now got Saquon by the way, I've got Barkley, Elliott, DeAndre Hopkins, and Michael Thomas all on that roster. It's like the greatest risk roster I've ever put together in my entire life.
Yeah, so bad things will happen, right?
Correct. That's probably the case. Wait, hang on. I had one other one. We'll get to it. We'll just make our picks, and then I'll ask you more at the end of the segment.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into it. Let's make our picks. So for those that are unaware, we got a whole crew this year. Deep roster making picks. And in week 1, Ken Zalis went 5-2 picking college games. Kyle Ottenheimer and Paul Valley both went 4-3. Everybody else sucked. Remember when Andrew Stecco was so mad at us making fun of him last week?
I know, he was so bad. I couldn't wait for this segment just for this. It's so bad.
He went 1-6.
He was so mad at us.
1-6. Now, I don't have a lot of room to speak because I went 2-5.
Yeah, but we were making fun of you too. But
correct.
We make fun of all of us at different times. But we made a point to make fun of him, and he was very annoyed.
Very unhappy that we would do that. Yeah, I went 2-5. So did Griffin, and so did Proctor. Again, by the way, this is stunner of stunners. First person to pay me this year, Kyle Ottenheimer.
Wow.
Kyle Ottenheimer was the first person to pay me for picks this year. Only one other person so far has paid. I'm not going to be mad about that. I'm going to give you a little grace period. By the end of the month, everybody's got to pay. It's not a lot of money. That's not really what's at stake here. We do the money just for the fun of it. What's really at stake is that the loser of this picks contest has to pay quite the price. Not only do they have to eat a worm burger, which might be a worm and cricket burger. I'm still trying to figure all that out with Tim from Bel Air, who's going to prepare it for us. But the loser of this contest has to consume a worm burger. And in honor of worm-related things, we'll also have to dress up like Dennis Rodman in a wedding dress when they do it. And also, as if that wasn't enough, we'll have to honor the great Scotty 2 Hottie by attempting to perform the worm. Ken Zalis, remind everyone how old you are.
I'm on the wrong side of 54.
I cannot wait for Ken Zalis to
it's not happening.
I would love it if
just
that
not
were the case.
happening.
And then, because obviously if you perform the worm, you get to hit somebody, they get to get their heat back. And we continue to honor the great Too Cool by having them perform on you a Rikishi-style stink face. So, lot at stake here for the loser. Now, we are doubling down this week as Griffin and I, of course, have a side bet for this week. The Richard Petty sandwich, the mayonnaise and black pepper and nothing else sandwich. The loser between the two of us this week is going to have to consume the Richard Petty sandwich.
Extra pressure this week.
So, yeah, a little bit of stress involved with that. By the way, John from Little Rock followed up to say, let's just say it's a sandwich that I wouldn't want to eat every day. And, in fact, I wouldn't really desire it. In fact, I would prefer to have a real sandwich like a sane person.
He said pretty good in the video.
He said delicious is what he said. He said
delicious.
delicious in the video. He did suggest that if whoever loses between the two of us, we use Duke's mayonnaise if we try it ourselves. But That's the side bet. That's the action going on this week. Griffin, we have now moved into 3 college games, 6 NFL games, correct?
That is correct.
Let's begin with the college.
All right, we're starting locally. The Terps will be traveling down to the Carolinas. They're going to take on the Miners of Charlotte. That's Saturday at 3:30. And you gotta have to try and put some effort into finding this one. You can either watch it on Fubo TV or like the Stadium Network.
Well, yeah, it is a network. That, like if you have DirecTV, you get Stadium.
Oh, you do get Stadium?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
100%. I know because I have broadcasted games for Stadium before. Like you can watch Stadium on television, but I don't know if Comcast has it locally.
I know YouTube TV does it or has it. I think. That's
I happen to know that if you have DirecTV, you get Stadium.
All right. So that's 3:30 Saturday. Terps are favored by 26.5 after not being able to cover against the Buffalo Bulls at home this past weekend.
So it's a big number. That being said, in their first 2 games of the year, Charlotte has lost 43-13 to Florida Atlantic and 41-24 to William and Mary. Now, in fairness, it is always tough to have to play both. Like that's not fair. Maryland didn't cover, but if you were paying attention in the second half, 1, why? But 2, that's because Buffalo kicked this bizarre field goal that helped them in, like, clearly their head coach bet on the game because they decided to kick a field goal that helped them in no ways whatsoever other than to help them get a cover. And Maryland put in their backup quarterback with a lot more time on the clock because I guess Mike Locksley didn't bet on the game. That son of a bitch. Maybe I should have learned from Ken last week, just avoid big numbers. Like, zany things happen when the numbers are that big. But Charlotte is not a qualified opponent. I'm going to ride with Maryland anyway.
What? You chose Maryland?
Do your whole bit, and then just get to the part where you make
You did. You chose Maryland again? That's just shocking to me. Are you wearing red, black, yellow, white? What color are you wearing today?
I'm wearing a Loyola shirt, you jerk. I'm wearing
He's wearing Charlotte colors.
I am actually wearing Charlotte colors today.
As last week, I will never, ever take the Maryland football version of the Terps when I am giving somebody 20-plus points. So this could be the worst football team in the history of football. I would still take them. Give me the Miners.
All right. They're not good. I can tell you that with certainty. They're not good. Of course, in
Guess what? Here's a newsflash.
Yeah. Well,
here's
stop,
a newsflash.
Stop. Don't that now you're just saying things. Yes. Now you're just saying things.
You know who was.
Yeah.
Why would you watch the second half? Because nobody else did. Not even the students.
But it was Maryland Buffalo. If it was a real game, there might have been people watching.
It was the opening week of college football. It was embarrassing to watch.
Stop.
Opening week of college football, half your stadium's empty. The students left at halftime.
They
played
Buffalo, Ken. They played Buffalo. Get to
the excitement. The
college
park is overwhelming.
You're a Miami fan. How's that been going for you?
70-10. It went great last week.
Yeah, thank you. Who'd they play?
Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah, exactly right.
Did they cover? Did they cover the 40?
That's not a great statement that Miami was only a 40-point favorite against Bethune-Cookman. Go ahead. What did everybody else pick?
So I'm going to go with Maryland as well. After last week, I was very prepared to just say, no, I'm going to fade Maryland every single week, but that was before looking at this Charlotte team who lost to an FCS school.
Yes, and lost decidedly to an FCS school.
So I think the Terps could put up, the over-under is 65.5, and I think the Terps could put up 60 by themselves just because of how bad Charlotte is. So I like the over in this, and I also like the Terps.
Okay, well, that doesn't get you any bonus points, Griffin. That doesn't. We're not giving out bonus points.
Just throwing it out there. I like the over. Ken, you are lone wolf in this one. He is the only one on the Miners.
So what is it that you want him to do? Because he's
got to howl.
You have to howl, Ken.
Meow.
No.
Thank you. Dynamite.
Right, there you go. Terps are going to cover them.
All right, let's go. All
right, next up, number 20, Kentucky Wildcats. They will travel down to Gainesville, take on the Florida Gators. That is Saturday night at 7 on ESPN. Gators favored by 5.5.
This almost feels like a trap, right? Like Florida pulls off this very unexpected win against Utah. So now everybody's on board, and Florida, and like in recent Florida history, that means they're set up for disappointment, right? Like, that means they're set up for, like, the moment that you believe in them, the moment that you believe something is happening with Florida football, they turn around and they let you down again. Now, look, Anthony Richardson played really well. I actually watched a bit of that game because it was more entertaining than the Ohio State game was. Anthony Richardson played really well, but still, Florida tried to lose, right? Like, insanely, Utah threw an interception as they were easily in field goal range to try to tie it, and they were trying to press the issue to win the game in regulation, and they ended up turning the ball over on the final play of the game. I like Kentucky. And Kentucky's given Florida fits in recent years. And what did you say the number was 5.5?
5.5 for the Gators.
I'll take the points. Give me Kentucky.
All right.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head of all that. And the best point was that Kentucky, even when they've been bad, and they're not bad anymore, has always given Florida a fit.
Yeah.
So over a field goal, 5.5, I'll take the Wildcats.
And people think that Levis is like a legit NFL prospect.
He's
right?
a legit. He is. Well, yeah, he's a legit NFL prospect.
Yep.
And this could go, if he has a coming out party, he becomes a legit Heisman prospect.
Very interesting.
So, Ken, you're changing your pick. You told me Florida last night, but you want to go Wildcats?
No, I'm taking Kentucky.
Okay. All right, I'm taking Kentucky.
That was a mistake.
Yes, I'm taking Kentucky as well. So Ken on Kentucky, Kyle on Kentucky, myself and Glenn on Kentucky, Paul taking Florida, John taking Florida, and Stetka taking Florida.
All right, that's good news for us.
No,
that's
good.
very good news. Ken, by the way, is sitting pretty. He so far is 2 for 2 in avoiding Stetka's picks. So Ken is great. He's in great shape.
Last game of college football that we will pick this week. Number 1, Alabama will be going to Austin to take on Texas Longhorns. That is Saturday at noon on Fox. Bama favored by 20.5 points.
I mean, I don't know any idiots that would ever pick against Alabama. I can't think of anybody at all that would do something like that. You guys might, if you're not following Live Casino and Hotel on social media, I would say this might be the week for you to start doing that. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You're going to... I do know one idiot that picked against Alabama last week. I know one. And he has to acknowledge what an idiot he is.
Yeah, I guess
he picked against Alabama. Alabama! I don't care. Alabama is the answer.
Thought Utah State might show up for, I don't know, a quarter.
Stop. Alabama is the pick. Ken?
Yeah, Alabama. I mean, until proven otherwise, we're not playing this game.
I got a stat for it. Alabama under Nick Saban, the Tide are 26-6 against the spread in weeks 1 through 5 when favored by 22.5 or less points. So they'll look to add to that. And the only person who is fading Alabama, Andrew Stepp.
Oh my God! What is?
We may have to stop this after 2 weeks.
Does he just really like worms, maybe? Is it possible he just really enjoys eating worms? Or maybe it's an excuse for him. You know, we might have to dive into this. Maybe it's an excuse for him to have to say to Mrs. Stecca, hey, I have to fly home. I'm sorry.
Home, yeah.
And so this buys him a way to get to come home every year if he's the loser. Maybe we need to dive more into the psyche of how this works. I can't believe that. All right, NFL games. Let's pick up the pace.
Moving to NFL Thursday night tonight, Buffalo Bills at the defending champs Los Angeles Rams on NBC, new NBC crew. Actually, new NBC crew. 8:20.
Tirico. It's not a whole new crew, but it's Tirico. Yes, takes over as the primary guy.
And Buffalo favored by 2.5.
You know what I hate about this is that I, like everybody else, am enamored with the Bills. I believe they're the best team. We all know how this works. We can say who we think is going to win the Super Bowl, but we know the reality. The team that's going to win the Super Bowl is the team that's the healthiest, right? Like, the teams that we say we like in August, it doesn't really matter because if Stephon Diggs gets hurt, the Bills are going to be effed. If Josh Allen gets hurt, they're going to be screwed. But on paper, I do, like everybody else, believe the Bills are the best, most complete team in the NFL. But I don't love them being favorites on the road, going across the country to open the season against the defending Super Bowl champions, who are also a very deep and complete team. This is a very confusing thing to me. I'm going to acknowledge I will probably get it wrong, and this is probably a dumb bet, but I'm going to take the Bills just out of the principle of believing that they are the best, most complete team. I don't like the fact they're favorites. The problem is they're favored by such a small number that you're really just picking who you think is going to win the game, and if I think they're the better of the two teams, I guess I'm picking them to win the game. So give me the Bills.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I did something, and I'm going to apologize to everybody for it. I've been playing fantasy football a long time. Do you know this is the first time I have ever owned Stephon Diggs?
Really?
Ever in a league.
That seems that seems unwise. He's quite good.
He is, but
he always single-handedly won me a title a couple of years ago.
I have never owned him until this year.
So you think you are going to be the cooler? You're nervous about now that you...
I'm like now that I've finally okay, he's probably a top 10 wide receiver. I'll go ahead and take him if he's there in the second round. And he was there last night twice, and I'm like, this is just going to go poorly because he went to school somewhere where whatever.
Wait. This is your Maryland hatred that has prevented you from drafting Stephon Diggs?
Partially.
I want to make this abundantly clear. I hate Ohio State. It didn't prevent me from drafting Michael Thomas. That's nuts.
But I think
what a weird bit this is too. You hate Maryland, but you love Maryland women's basketball. What a weird bit this is from you.
I love every team in Maryland except their football team.
What is? You know, man, you and I one day. We're going to sit down
one day,
and we're going to do a psychological evaluation.
We'll explain. We'll explain one day. But anyway, I go on the other side, and like you said, I don't like this whole opening week, short week, whether you want to call it a short week or not, because they've had 10 days, but in their process, it changes everything. Going across country, playing the defending champs, a lot of emotion in the building. I'm going to take the Rams.
Okay, I get that, and I think it's the right pick. I really do. I think it's the right pick, but it's a principle thing.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Rams as well. A few more stats for you. Super Bowl champs that come in as home underdogs are 4-1 against the spread all time, and Sean McVay is also 5-0 against the spread and straight up in openers. So I'm taking the Rams. Glenn, you are taking the Bills along with John Proctor, and you were the only one.
Right, at least it's not Stecca. I mean, I don't love it, but at least it could be worse. You guys have Stecca, so don't know what to tell you.
Next up, AFC North matchup, Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know why I couldn't say that. Travel to Cincinnati, take on the Bengals Sunday at 1 o'clock on CBS. Bengals favored by 6.5.
Also feels like a trap. It feels like, of course you take the Bengals, right? They're definitely a touchdown better than the Steelers. But as I keep saying, we are down on the Steelers for one specific reason, because they don't have a quarterback. And we're forgetting they didn't have a quarterback last year. The standard is very low for what they need from their quarterback play in order to be able to replicate a season where they were pretty good. So it's a trap. I don't have the balls to do it. I'm going to take the Bengals, but it definitely feels like a trap. It definitely feels like we are utterly dismissing the Steelers when the reality is their roster is basically the same. I mean, they lose Juju Smith-Schuster? It's basically the same, and it'd be very hard for the quarterback play to be that much worse. So I hate myself, Bengals.
Yeah, I don't hate myself because especially in Baltimore, we fall for this, banana in the tailpipe every year with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're never going to be good and stuff like that. And the media, for some reason, kind of jumps on it early in seasons. And they're a better football team. Week one, so much hype, so much pressure on the Bengals to do what they did last year. And Pittsburgh's not a bad team. I'm going to take the points here. I'm flat out going to take the points.
Again, probably the smart play. I'm going to end up enjoying a mayonnaise pepper sandwich because of these decisions.
It won't be because of this pick, because you and I are on the same page. We're both taking the Bengals along with Paul. Everyone else on the Steelers, Stetka, Kyle, Proctor.
I'm sorry, Ken. I'm so sorry, but I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I just got. I could. To be honest with you, the smart play for me is just to pick the same picks as Stetka the rest of the season.
Yeah, you're good. That's a good point, right? Let Stetka send an email in and just take the exact same things and you're covered. 100%.
All right, next up, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady coming back. They'll take on Dallas in Dallas. That is Sunday night on NBC. Tampa Bay favored by 2.5.
Tampa. I mean, boy, I'm not falling for that with the Cowboys. No chance. This is, and you can. Tom Brady ran away to do the Masked Singer and get Botox or whatever. Like you can keep trying to tell me all you want. That's Tampa. And is Godwin going to play now? Is he?
I think he's like on the right track. I'm not sure.
I mean, for God's sakes, we're not doing this. Stop it. Until proven otherwise, the answer is Tampa. It's only 2.5, really?
I know. I was very surprised.
Jesus Christ, Tampa.
I guess because it's at Dallas.
Stop, Tampa.
Give me the Cowboys here.
Listen to you.
Give me the Cowboys. I actually like this version of the Cowboys this year a little bit more than some people do. I think Dak's out to prove something. I think they're healthy. Tampa, they've had very little time with, even if Godwin plays, I mean, they've had very little time with their starting offense. They have been decimated along the offensive line. By the way, Dallas has some guy named Parsons that's pretty good, I hear.
I've heard.
And they can get after the quarterback. I think Tampa will be fine as the year goes on. I just don't like them this week.
All right.
Ken taking the Cowboys. Who else taking Paul taking the Cowboys, and Andrew Stetka taking the Cowboys.
No. No.
That's okay. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
You got a lead. You're all right.
Next up, Sunday, 4:25 on Fox. Green Bay Packers will travel to Minnesota, taking on Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. Packers favored by 1.5 on the road.
Why is it only 1.5? Everybody's in love with the Vikings. I don't really like. How are the Vikings that much different than last year's Vikings?
Kevin O'Connell, I guess.
They're healthier.
Everybody is in love with the Vikings. They are the sexy team that could break through in the NFC. I do know that there are questions about Green Bay without Devontae Adams and who's going to step up. My guess is somebody. My guess is Romeo Doubs or Christian Watson or somebody is going to prove to be a rock star target for Aaron Rodgers, and they're going to be fine. You know what? The hell with it. I got to do something crazy. I'll buy Minnesota. Let's go. What are we doing? Why not?
I don't think in week one it's too much of a question. I'm gonna take the Vikings. The Packers are not healthy. The guy that they are relying upon at wide receiver, Lazard, they've talked about the whole preseason. He may not even play now. Watson, I like Watson. I like Dobbs, but I don't know if Watson's ready to go. You love the running backs, but I think the reason everybody is excited about Minnesota is because they finally have an offensive coach, and you have offensive weapons that you're just like, let's go, let's utilize Dalvin Cook the way he's supposed to be. Let's utilize the fact that you have a quarterback that, say what you want about him, he can throw the football and push it downfield. You're getting your tight end back in Irv Smith Jr., who everybody thought was a breakout star coming into last year before the injury. I like a lot of things about the Vikings this year, and I think they win week one.
All right.
It is a clean sweep. We are
really
all on the Vikings.
Wow,
this is a weird bet, dude. That's
a little surprising.
Yeah, that's ominous too. Like that says we're all in.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers stinker last year on week one against Jameis and the Saints.
I don't know.
Away favorites typically don't cover like historically. I think it's like 44% like
still, dude,
against the spread. Also,
still that doesn't seem.
I know
smart.
it's All right, next up, 4:25 CBS Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers favored by 3.5.
Boy, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. Look, we're all in love with Justin Herbert, and like it's the most, except for Ken, who was an idiot.
The bust.
Yeah, the bust. Nice call. Brilliant call.
Brilliant.
That being said, like the Raiders are loaded, and you're getting to play with 3.5 points, and what should be a good. Like I feel like the pick you have to make here is the Raiders. Like I just feel like this is a good matchup between two good teams. I get it. The Chargers' defense is vastly improved, or should be vastly improved. And I'm all in on Austin Eckler, the whole deal. I feel like when you have a matchup between two teams that are fairly close and I'm getting 3.5 points to play with, you almost religiously have to take the dog in that situation. So give me the Raiders.
Can't do it. Can't do it. A lot of moving parts with the Raiders. I just can't do it. The most I guess, talked about thing that happened in the off season is that the Chargers got better on defense, and we love to talk about all the offensive weapons and how many points they scored last year, and they're going to score a lot of points this year as well. But they're going to get James back. They got some guy named Mack to play the other side of the pass rush. The pass rush should be scary. So early, I'm especially liking them because of their defense, because I think their offense is still going to be really, really good. But defensively is why I like them so much.
How do they overcome having such a crap quarterback, though, Ken? Like, how do they overcome that?
Well, I mean, when you have Eckler scoring 18 touchdowns a year, I mean, it helps.
Yeah, it does.
On the other side, you got somebody that's always open that I could probably throw to in Keenan Allen.
Yeah, that's what it is.
You know, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
See, but at least
guy's basically Mitchell Trubisky.
This is why even in retirement you like having me on, because no matter what you throw at me, I'm going to come up. I'm going to come up with some BS to give back to you.
Nonsense, because he can't just say, "My God, I could not have been more wrong about Justin Herbert." The guy.
I said it once.
I think you did.
I said it once. I will never say it again. But I did say it once.
All right. What is everybody else doing?
John Proctor on the Chargers, Ken on the Chargers, and Andrew Stetka on the Chargers.
All right. I like this. This is good news.
Finally,
swimmingly.
Finally, we will bring it home. Baltimore Ravens travel up to New York, take on the Jets Sunday at 1 p.m. on CBS. Ravens favored by 7.5.
This also feels like a trap. This number has gone up and exploded, and it doesn't feel right. Like, how would the number be smaller when? And I mean this. Why would the number go up based on Joe Flacco being announced as the quarterback? In what world would Zach Wilson be worth a couple of points?
I know.
What?
Pick me.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Because he's not good. He was good for a season. My God, he was historic for a season. Other than that, he wasn't good.
Have you heard of Zach Wilson?
I'll take Zach Wilson running around over Joe Flacco any single day.
It's hilarious that you're pretending like there's some difference. There's no. They're not. Zach Wilson's not good. And he's never been good, unlike Joe Flacco, who has been good. Zach Wilson's never been good. Now, I'm with you that I don't think Joe Flacco is likely to be good this week. I hate the number. I hate the idea of a team being a 7.5-point favorite on the road. Like that. How do you take that? If you're betting that, you're an insane person. But of course, I can't pick against it. Like, I'm not going to put American dollars on it. But yes, give me the Ravens, despite the fact that I truly hate the idea of a week 1 road team being a 7.5-point favorite with as many question marks as the Ravens have. I will still, I'm not going down picking the Jets.
Toughest game on the slate of all these for me to pick. Because I, like you, absolutely despise the number. And 7.5, like, do we? Let's all take off our purple stuff for a second. Do we have any idea what to expect from the Ravens this year?
No, not at all.
I mean, we haven't seen their offense play together. We don't know if their top running back's going to be in the game. We don't know if their top left tackle's going to be in the game. We have no idea what the rest of the offensive line is really going. We don't know who the guard is. By the way, I haven't seen, and everybody don't kill me because biggest fan of the world of Lamar Jackson, haven't seen him play in almost a year because he was hurt the last time. He didn't finish the season. I haven't seen him work in a game with these receivers. Okay, we love Isaiah Likely. He looks great. How many balls has he caught in a game
when he wasn't
from
going
Lamar Jackson?
Right, and when he wasn't going up against CFL guys in the preseason.
Right, but I mean, and I think he's going to be a good player. But I mean, there are so many moving parts, and then defensively, they're bringing guys off the trash heap because they have nobody that can rush the passer. It's a horrible number, and as I said when I wrote it in, I said I'm going to reserve the right to change my pick on this one. but I just can't because I'm playing the game, and I think everybody's going to be on the Ravens, so I'm not going to be the lone wolf on the Jets, so I'm going to take the Ravens.
All right.
There is one lone wolf on the Jets.
Ooh.
Andrew Stecca.
In fairness, actually, this again is probably the smart pick.
It's not. It's probably the smarter pick.
Yeah, but
yeah, I wanted to so badly.
Oh my!
But I just couldn't.
But seriously, I gotta wonder if he's purposely sabotaging this to come home. I really have to start wondering. Like, it's a small price to pay. I got to eat some worms. I got to trip home out of it. He can go play golf with his dad, go to an Orioles game or two. Like, I really do start to wonder if there is purposeful sabotage involved in these things to try to get a trip home out of it. All right.
So our bet will be settled tomorrow. The only game that we
what?
Yeah, the only game that we are on opposite sides of is tonight between the Bills and
the
the
Rams.
Are you
serious?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a disaster. Oh, no. Oh, no. All right. That's the way it goes.
Do you want to do it tomorrow, or do you want to? I guess we're kind of busy tomorrow.
Yeah, we have a lot going on tomorrow.
Right,
we'll
so
save
we'll
it
do
for
it
Monday.
Monday.
We'll save
All
it
right.
for Monday. All right. Can Albert Agaba Wigaba Gaga or Dawson Knox?
Alberto.
I'm not asking you.
Knox.
I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm just saying call him Alberto.
Oh,
I mean, they were weird in the preseason with Alberto. It almost to the point where you thought that they didn't trust him, and until they drafted another rookie, and his name escapes me right now. But it was really weird. Like, he was playing into the fourth quarter of preseason games.
I don't love that.
And it was just weird. And you know, we like the talent, and everybody's assuming, but their usage preseason was just so weird. So Knox just signed a big contract. He's going to be especially in the red zone, a target. So we'll go there.
All right, and then so am I playing 8? I got to play 2 of Breece Hall, AJ Green, and Alberto.
What kind of draft did you have?
This is in your stupid league where we're playing 4 guys on the we're playing 1,000 flexes.
I'll repeat myself.
What the hell else do you
really?
think were my options were at that point, Ken?
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't looked at my. I could
also play Sky. Yet. I could also play Sky Moore.
I'd probably go Hall and Moore.
Hall and Moore
to take the fly. To fly. I mean, I don't like any running back going against the Ravens normally.
Yeah.
But the use. I mean, Alberto, and who was the other one?
AJ Green.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I mean, those guys could see 0 targets pretty easily. So I gotta go. I gotta go with people. At least I expect Sky Moore to be used either a couple times as an end around and see a couple of targets, and I still think Hall gets at least 15 touches. I'll go with opportunity.
All right.
Jalen Waddle or Christian Kirk?
I really like Kirk this week, and Waddle. I mean, I know he came back and practiced a little bit.
He's a little banged up.
He's a little banged up. They pay Kirk a lot of money. He's one of those really even forgotten about sleepers as far as the draft season went. But they paid him like legitimate. He's going to be our wide receiver 1 type money. So I gotta think he's looking at somewhere around 8 targets. So yeah, I'll go that way in week 1. And I love Waddle. I think he's a superstar. But coming off the injury, I want to see how it all works.
All right, buddy. We will talk to you next Thursday at Fans Fantasy on Twitter. You should still tweet him all of your questions at all hours of the night.
People are.
I'm sure.
And I'm answering as many as I can get to, but I always say it with a caveat. This is now totally opinion. I am not doing rankings outside of things for my personal team. So I don't have these. I haven't done this 25 hours a week research. So, I mean, it's totally off the top of my head and what I think.
But you can 100% follow Joe Serpico's rankings and updates.
And you should, and they will be better than mine. And I really like, by the way, and not just BS. And I really like the content he's putting out, and he's doing a real nice job. And if you got a chance to hear him with you, or he was on 105.7, did a really nice spot with them the other night. Look, he's got a unique outlook, but I do like it.
PressBoxOnline.com is where you see all of that. All right, buddy. Talk to you next week. Thank you, pal.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Ken Zalis checking in with us as we get our picks in for the week. And yes, Griffin and I tonight, it all comes down to tonight as to who will be consuming the Richard Petty sandwich come Monday. Great! Great!
I feel pretty good. I like the Rams a lot tonight.
Yeah.
So
well, I don't like either of them a lot tonight. I think they're two really good teams, and anything could happen tonight. All right. When we come back in, we will get a tidbit, we'll get tubular, and then we will take a listen to segment 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show with Justin Houston. That's all on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn, over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
What's up, everyone? This is Tyus Bowser, and I'm excited to tell you that I'm back for Season 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show in partnership with Pressbox and Great Ace Memorabilia. Join us on Tuesday nights throughout the season as I'll be heading all over town with my special guests. And, of course, our co-hosts, Glenn and Rita. Or is it Rita and Glenn? What is it? I look forward to meeting you guys and talking a little bit about football and a lot about life. And if you happen to miss the show, you can now catch a replay Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. Get all of your details for the Tyus Bowser Show right now at PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, September 20th at Skipjack's Crab Deck in Middle River. It's brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Grill and Maryland Vascular Specialists.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka profiles Ravens tight end Mark Andrews' path to NFL stardom, from his late decision to play the sport full-time through having to overcome type 1 diabetes and more. Also, inside, we introduce you to football players at Maryland, Navy, Towson, and Morgan State. And we give you everything you need to know for betting football this season. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of demos, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
Come in for Glory Burgers, Glory Wings. There's glory for everyone at Glory Days Grill. Enjoy their award-winning burgers, ribs, and wings, or try the fresh salads, hand-cut salmon, or the scrumptious sandwiches. Yum! Come in for the daily specials every weekday, like $7.99 burgers on Mondays and $6.99 nachos on Thursdays. Dine in and let us serve you, or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and take it home. That's glorydaysgrill.com for a location near you. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
To follow the show on Instagram, it's just Glenn Clark Radio. And to follow the show on OnlyFans, wait, I don't think you're supposed to know about that one. Any hoodle. Take it away, boys.
All right, back in here on GCR as we are winding down for a Thursday edition of the show. I mentioned we will hear segment number 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show with Justin Houston. Of course, the Tyus Bowser Show is a partnership of Pressbox and Great Eights Memorabilia. And we're coming to your town this season. Next Tyus Bowser Show will be Tuesday, September 20th. At Skipjack's in Middle River. Can't wait to come see that side of the county. Rabid Ravens fans. It's going to be an awesome event. You can find out more by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. That's PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. Just a chance for you to come out, hang out, meet your favorite Baltimore football players, have some great food. There are no catches. There will inevitably be, at a point this season, a night where we say, hey, we are trying to use this event to raise canned goods or to raise for our coat drive, for example. But we will let you know that ahead of time. We will give you those details ahead of time. So you don't have to worry about that too much. But this next one, nothing, no catches. Just come out to Skipjack's, and you'll be able to meet Tyus Bowser and his special guest. If you had been at Guilford Hall Brewery on Tuesday night, you would have been able to meet Justin Houston. I don't know if you heard, he's got over 100 career sacks. He could end up in the Hall of Fame. And you could have just come out. He was just hanging out. Literally, after the show was over, he kept hanging out. Great guy. Was talking to people, taking more pictures, signing more autographs. Like, your loss. You done screwed up, Aaron. You could have been there. Tyus Bowser Show is brought to you by our friends at Maryland Vascular Specialists and by the all-new Ginsu Grill. By the way, update will air tomorrow night at 7 o'clock on 105.7 The Fan. So I do know that definitively if you have missed any of the show. All right. Now, as we wind down, is there anything we didn't cover that we needed to today? I feel like Gus Edwards gave an update on Instagram, and people were talking about that. It didn't really say anything definitively. Like, it didn't. I feel like it was just sort of like, I'll be back soon. Oh, hang on, let me pull it up real quick. Gus Edwards said on Instagram, sorry, I don't know why it's taking forever. For everybody wondering about my recovery, I'm doing great and I'm very close. I've been ghost because I've been grinding. Can't wait for y'all to see the work God, me, and my trainers have been putting in. So, doesn't really tell us much. Hopefully that means after we get through these 4 weeks, he'll be ready to go come week 5, but doesn't tell us that specifically. Just says, I'm working. That's all we get out of that. Tidbit brought to you today by the print issue of Pressbox, which is available right now at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Pressbox. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. That's Mark Andrews there on the cover. You've heard of him. He's the tight end for your Baltimore Ravens. And it's a great story from Bo Smolka about his unlikely path to superstardom in the NFL. A kind of a late arriver as far as someone who decided when he was going to be a full-time football player. And we all know the battle that he's had with diabetes. Just a really great story about Mark Andrews. Good job done by Bo Smolka. And you can pick that up right now. Also, a lot of great college football content in this issue. It can be read at PressBoxOnline.com, but get to your neighborhood Royal Farms today and grab it for free.
All right, so I'm going to do a NFL Week 1 tidbit here. I've been doing almost exclusively baseball tidbits, but now it's finally football season. Going to break one out, do a Week 1 theme tidbit. So I want to go in the offensive categories. Most passing yards ever in a Week 1 game in the Super Bowl era.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady?
Oh, no, probably Peyton Manning against the Ravens.
Which one's your pick?
Peyton Manning.
No.
It was Tom Brady?
It was Tom Brady. September 12th, 2011 against the Dolphins.
Okay.
Threw for 517 yards.
It feels like Peyton Manning's threw for 517 yards on that Thursday night against the Ravens.
Where was he? No,
he threw for.
He is not. I would like to know.
It was
top
7.
9.
It was 7 touchdowns. Top 9. How in the world am I going to know the top 9?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he was up there. 462.
I mean, it was 7 touchdowns, right? I mean, it was insane.
Yes, it was probably
top
the best
9.
Week 1.
Tom Brady. Since when did you say?
In the Super Bowl era, but all these guys are from the 90s and on.
Okay.
So.
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes, not a massive Week 1 performance.
Aaron Rodgers, not a massive Week 1 performance. Russell Wilson, not a massive. It's not just the Thursday night opener. It's anytime in Week 1.
It is, anytime in Week 1. So a Week 1 performance.
So that's my fault. I was thinking about openers. I was thinking only specifically about. Well, I guess.
You know what? I just want 8 because one of the guys on here is on here twice.
Okay, since the 90s. Brett Favre.
Not on here.
Lamar Jackson against the Dolphins.
No, not Lamar Jackson against the Dolphins.
He had a big game though.
Someone playing the Ravens is on here though.
Playing
in the top 8.
Peyton Manning was already on.
Yeah, Peyton Manning. So the Ravens are on there twice, allowing big performances.
How am I supposed to remember
in
this?
the past 10 years?
In the past 10 years.
So twice in the past 10 years, there's a guy that goes Peyton and then the other guy.
I don't.
Last year, Monday night.
Last year, oh my God, who did they play against on Monday night last year? What? Oh my God, why am I blanking?
They played the
this?
Raiders.
That's right.
Derek
Carr. That is
435 yards.
Why did I struggle with that? That's bad.
I forgot to kind of.
Phil Rivers is he on the list?
No, he is not.
Drew Brees.
Phil Rivers just misses my.
Is he on the list?
Drew Brees is right ahead of Carr, number 7.
Ben Roethlisberger.
439. Nope, not Ben.
Kurt Warner.
There you go. Kurt Warner right ahead of Breezy. 441 against the Broncos in 2000.
Troy Aikman.
Not Troy Aikman.
Tony Romo.
So we're looking for 3 more guys.
Tony Romo.
Not Tony Romo.
Dak Prescott.
Not Dak Prescott. Let's see. Guy from
Matt
the 90s.
Hasselbeck.
Not incorrect.
Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan. Yes, Matt Ryan's on there twice in 2014 and 2020 against the Seahawks.
Donovan McNabb.
Not McNabb. Guy with the same last name you already mentioned.
Eli Manning.
Yes, Eli Manning threw for 450 against the Cowboys in the 2013. What was that, Sunday Night Football? Was that the Odell? No, that was the next year.
I'm missing one.
Yeah, you're missing one. Number 2 on this list, 473 yards against the Patriots in Week 1 of 1994.
Against the Patriots in Week 1 of 1994. Dan Marino.
Dan Marino, yes.
Very good.
Good job.
Very good. A tidbit was also brought to you by Project Game Day, which is going to return. It's going to be a little bit different this year. I'll be with you at halftime, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Just sort of updating, chatting with you, getting your thoughts on how the first half went. Looking forward to that. And then post-game, come over and join me on 105.7 The Fan. Tubular, brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com, where the Toyota Tacoma comes in a wonderful, just immaculate range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise. Obviously, NFL season does indeed get underway this evening. Bills, Rams, NBC for the first game. 8:20 is when that one kicks off. Is there any sort of special musical performance?
Ozzy Osbourne, I think, is.
But I think that's just in the stadium, isn't it? Is that it?
If he's not doing halftime, I don't know.
Whatever. He's doing halftime. I think that's just like a Rams thing. I don't know if that's an NBC thing.
Gotcha.
Baseball today. Nationals, Cardinals, 1:15 on MASN and the rest of the country on MLB Network. MLB Network for Giants, Brewers at 4 and at 7. Both games of a doubleheader. White Sox, Athletics at 10. YouTube, Reds, Cubs at 2. U.S. Open women's semifinals tonight. 7 o'clock for Caroline Garcia and Ons Jabeur. Followed by Arina Sabalenka and Iga Swiatek. That's all on ESPN. ESPN2, the decider between the Connecticut Sun and Chicago Sky at 8 o'clock. Who's going to go on to face the Vegas Aces in the WNBA Finals? Access TV, Impact Wrestling at 8. Some non-sports highlights?
It's Disney Plus Day, so they're releasing. They have a ton of stuff. New episode of She-Hulk, the Pinocchio movie, though.
And you can watch the Thor movie today, I think, on Disney Plus.
Yes, yeah, and I think they're doing a Thor behind-the-scenes special, some kind of thing with that. So a ton of specials. They're doing an Obi-Wan behind-the-scenes special with that.
Right.
But yeah, I think the Pinocchio movie, Tom Hanks is Geppetto.
That's available today?
Yes,
I didn't realize that was available today. Oh, holy crap! Yeah.
Joseph
and it's
Gordon-Levitt,
like
Jiminy
half
Cricket.
live action, half animated, or something.
Yeah, because Tom Hanks is in there. Lauren Bracco voices someone in it too. I saw.
Okay.
Like, that's interesting. Anthrax Attacks documentary on Netflix.
Okay,
could be good.
Probably not,
because I don't know anything about it. So I was like,
move on.
maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are the highlights.
Okay. Football. Thanks today to Solomon Wilcots. Thanks also to Anthony Becht and Ken Zalis. We will get all that up in the greatest hits section of the tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Programming note, going to be a weird day tomorrow. We're going to start a little bit early, probably around 9:40. Do you have Micah's number? I got to text him, make sure he knows that. Oh, I got to text him anyway. Probably around 9:40 is when we're going to start. We have a loaded show scheduled for tomorrow. Jackson Holiday, Orioles first-round pick. Taryn Vavra of the Baltimore Orioles scheduled to join us.
Lawrence
Cager of the New York Jets, Calvert Hall alum. We were just talking to Anthony Becht about him today, scheduled to join us. Mike Tannenbaum, former NFL GM. He is going to be calling Sunday's game for ESPN Radio. He's scheduled to join us. Stan the Fan will be in studio with us tomorrow, and we'll play segment 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show. Dirty little secret, we're pre-recording some of this. And the reason we're doing that is I have to get out to Stevenson tomorrow because they're hosting a huge event with USA Volleyball this weekend. It's a select tournament. They are trying to identify the next crop of beach volleyball Olympians for Team USA. So it's a big event that I am working on this weekend. So I got to get out of here a little early. So the show is going to keep going, but it'll be, and I'll still be doing it, but it'll be me from yesterday. Basically is the way that it'll go. So it's going to be a little bit of a weird day tomorrow, but we don't want to take any content. And again, loaded loaded show scheduled, which of course means we'll end up having problems and something will not come through. But a loaded show scheduled for tomorrow, and look forward to bringing it to you. Just going to be a little bit different, a little bit weird, a little bit quirky, starting probably about 9:40 tomorrow morning is the plan. Cool? Can we all work together on this? Like, Mom and Dad still love you. We just need you to choose which one of us you want to stay with moving forward. That's all. Today's show was also brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Where, again, any $50 bet this week on football, you register it and you're a Live Rewards member, you will be a part of the FanDuel Combine this Sunday. This Sunday, during the Week 1 games, you can be in the Hall at Live, betting, watching all the games, with great food provided, giveaways, prizes, contests. It's going to be an awesome day for the FanDuel Combine. And you will be registered with a $50 bet, any $50 football bet this week. You'll be registered for that FanDuel Combine. All right. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Thanks to, I didn't thank all the sponsors and partners. I guess I should have done that. Thanks to all of our great sponsors and partners, including Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, the Maryland Lottery, Guilford Hall Brewery, Grade 8's Memorabilia, FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, Maryland Vascular Specialist, the all-new Ginsu Grill, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, and buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday evening. I guess I don't really know. I shouldn't say go Bills because the Ravens might end up competing with the Bills for like the number 1 seed. Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too. We wrap up today with segment number 2. If you missed segment number 1 yesterday, shame on you. But this is segment number 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show from this past Tuesday night at Guilford Hall Brewery with special guest Justin Houston. Welcome back into segment number 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show. It's Rita and Glenn. Oh, you didn't even do the bit, Rita. What the heck happened?
Huh?
I just did the bit. I set you up for it. I said
Glenn and Rita.
Oh, man, that was rough.
Sorry.
Well, I'll try it again next time.
We only do that on the radio show.
But this is on the radio now, Rita.
No, this is live.
Oh, stop. All right, it's Tyus is what matters. Tyus is the host of the show, and he's got Justin Houston out here with him tonight. Would y'all make some more noise for Tyus and Justin Houston? Tyus Bowser Show is also brought to you by Ginsu Kamado Grills. Coming soon, the Ginsu Kamado Grill, the perfect ceramic tailgate for home grill use or to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all kinds of food. I can't wait to get my hands on a Ginsu grill. All right, so Tyus, I saw you on Twitter try to say that a win's a win. You guys, they were hell-bent on not getting the win over the weekend.
Yeah, man, we got it, man. We found a way to win.
Yeah.
We found a way.
Yeah, call it a win. 37-35 in overtime against Texas San Antonio.
Yeah.
Justin, how'd Georgia do this weekend?
I think we did all right. You know what I'm
just okay?
I think we just did okay.
Okay, so let me ask you that. I'm not going to tell you who I'm a fan of. Let's just, I'm not going to do that today. But be quiet. Be quiet, Glenn. I will say, so I don't like y'all. I'm going to just say that. I don't like y'all. However, I did feel like there was some disrespect there for Georgia coming in number 3 after winning the national championship. Now, I understand that they lost a lot of talent, particularly on defense, to the NFL. A lot of guys went there. But I felt like number 3 was pushing it. Even if you think that Alabama is better, I think that Georgia still has to be number 2. So do you think that they made their mark after that game and they've leapfrogged the number 1? Or because the standings came out today, and I don't know where they are now, but should they be number 1?
It really don't matter at this point, as long as they get in the dance at the end of the season. So
I hear you.
As long as we stay undefeated and we get in the dance, we're gonna do what we're supposed to do. So that's all I care about, just staying undefeated and getting in the dance.
One thing I will say is Stetson Bennett is a guy that I laughed at first at one point, but he looked good.
I think his confidence now. So after he playing carefree. I think when he first got out there, he was worrying about his mistakes. You can tell he was holding on to the ball, scared to throw the ball. But the last game he just played, it was amazing. He was playing carefree. He was throwing that ball like he belongs there. So I love his journey, what he's been through, the challenges he's been through and faced and overcome. I have so much respect for that kid.
Can you put into words what that meant to you, like seeing them win a title? That, I get it. You want to win your own championships. Like, you got your own thing you're doing. But How special was that for you?
Once a dog, always a dog. So I've won a championship.
That's
too,
right.
You know? I may not get a ring, but I definitely won. I definitely carry that around on my back, that title. So it means a lot for Dog Nation to even. It's been a while since we had the opportunity to win and bring one home. So to finally bring one home is big for us.
Yo, but beating Texas San Antonio by 2 points in overtime is pretty good too, right? Like,
That's
like
great, man.
It's basically, it's almost the same as being national champions.
No, it is the same. In my eyes, it's the same, man. Go Cougs, man. Go Cougs.
You both want to know. Like,
we both want to know.
You got that.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. That is all that matters.
How entrenched do you guys like pay attention to your alma maters, you know, as players? Because, you know, people like to compare college and NFL, and people know me. They know I'm a huge college football fan. I think that you can separate the two. Like, college is on Saturdays, you know, or you don't have to put two bad chicks together. You know, they can coexist, right? So, do you guys keep up with your team?
Didn't work out well for me.
Huh?
I suggest not trying to put two bad chicks together.
That's all I'm saying. You can enjoy the scenery. You can enjoy the scenery because there's an opportunity to enjoy both, right? Do you guys even pay attention to it on Saturdays, but still have to prepare yourself for Sundays? Because that's a lot.
Oh, for me, I'm always locked into my team. I make sure, you know, when we eating food, we're on the TV when we playing, you know?
Right.
Regardless of who's playing.
Yeah.
We're on the TV, I'm paying attention to them, and I'm locked in. That actually helps me, you know, going to Sunday, you know, ready to go, because it's nice to see your own team, your own family play, and it's good to see young guys do well, and that just helps motivate you and get you right for Sunday, in my opinion.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah, I'm always locked in when the Dogs play. So the only time I don't get to see them play is we flying in the air, but I'm checking the score while we're in the air. So I'm always watching, praying, hoping we get that win.
Justin, we talked to Tyus about his path to Houston. Was it always Georgia for you? Like, did you always know growing up, like, that's where I want to be?
Yes, I knew off rip where I wanted to go. I didn't even take any official visits.
Really?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to go to Georgia. So once Georgia offered, it was like, yeah, I'm coming.
You can't. Can you believe that? Like, his name is literally Houston. You guys couldn't even get him to take an official visit. What the hell's going on there?
It's a different time, man. I wasn't part of it during that time. I can't help you.
Justin, you went over 100. By the way, Justin Houston over 100 career sacks. Did I hear you say your son has set a new goal for you?
Yes, he has 130 in mind. So
why 130?
Because he keep up with all the stats. So he's figured if I get to 130 sacks, that will give me my gold jacket.
Wow.
I need to know what does that mean? How many more years are you going to be with the Ravens as a result?
That's yet to be determined. We'll see. I don't make y'all know a lot of decisions go into that. Like, if it was up to me, I would love to stay here, but I don't get to make that decision. You know what I'm saying? So I don't pick the teams at the end of the year. That's out of my pay grade. So you know what I'm saying? Would I love to stay here and would I love to finish my career here? Yes, I would.
Because you had to make a decision this past offseason, right? Like, why? What was your experience like in Baltimore that made you say that's where I want to be if they're willing to keep having me?
I love the coaches and the guys in the locker room. I think, especially Coach Harbaugh, I think he's a straightforward guy, and like that's hard to find nowadays. And for some coaches, a lot of coaches not straightforward. Like you can go sit down with Coach Harbaugh and have a real man-to-man talk. Y'all can agree to disagree, and he gonna speak how he feel. You can speak how you feel, and there's no hard feelings. And he gonna it's all love. You know what I'm saying? So I respect that so much from that guy because that's rare to find in this league. That you got coaches that will look you dead in your eye and tell you something that's not real. You know what I'm saying? But what Coach Harbaugh tell you is exactly what he feels and what he believes. And you have no choice but respect it. You know what I'm saying? As a man, I respect that and I appreciate that.
Tyus likes the Harbaugh so much, he's wearing Jim's shoes tonight. I don't know if everybody got to see it. Can you show everybody these kicks that you got tonight?
Come on now. The Michigan shoes. Go ahead and put them out there.
Give you those?
No, he didn't give me these, but I was like, I need to get out of black and white. So I was trying to get into some different colors, and these just came about, and I was like, I guess I could work with these.
Yo, I mean, they're. I like them.
I like them too.
They're clean.
So do you have a pair of pandas that also? Do you have a pair of panda dunks?
I got some pandas.
Okay,
yeah. I got some panda dunks.
Okay.
Gotta have a panda dunks.
Clearly, because you like black and white, so I knew you had to have a pair of pandas.
I'm a basic guy.
Glenn, do you know what
definitely
pandas
know
are?
what you guys are talking about.
Okay.
I totally know exactly what you guys are talking about.
So Glenn, let me break this down to you. I'm gonna break it down to you. It's the same shoe that he has on, but they are black and white. Okay, all right.
That sounds like a shoe I'd like to have.
I might have to give you something for your birthday.
Bro.
What size shoe you wear?
I'm a 12.
All right, bet.
11.
I got you.
For being honest.
I got you.
This is the Tyus Bowser Show. We are live at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North, 1611 Guilford Avenue, where they got a huge Ravens season kickoff party coming up this Sunday that you're going to want to be here for. I mentioned Mike McDonald. Give me a quick thumbnail. We got food coming. Oh, look at that.
Oh, wow.
Oh my.
All right.
Is that a present?
So since food is coming,
Hang on
before
a
we get to
second.
Michael McDonald,
Yeah.
Tyus, we know how you feel about Old Bay. Justin, how do you feel about Old Bay?
Wow.
About
Old Bay, because you know that's a
Old
big
Bay.
deal here.
the seasoning?
Yes.
I love it.
Thank you.
What's the problem with that? I don't am I missing something? Am
Did I say something wrong?
Your teammates. Your teammates are a lot when it comes to food, and they like to talk about food a lot on the timeline. And
they got some terrible takes.
They have the worst takes. They don't like mac and cheese. They don't like Old Bay. They don't like crabs. I just don't understand these people.
Everybody not cut from the same cloth. You know what I'm saying? Some people are different, but that would make us unique in our own special way. That would make us a team. So I'm gonna ride with my teammates. But you need different pieces to make it work.
It's a good political answer, by the way. Were you a seafood guy?
I love seafood.
Okay. All right. Respect. Now, Tyus came out and he ordered the mozzarella sticks.
Yeah.
The play. Tell me. Are you like everywhere you go, you're ordering mozzarella sticks, guy?
No. Honestly, I'm just looking at the appetizers to see what's quick, what's easy to eat.
While you're doing a radio show.
While I'm doing a radio show. And I felt like they got a lot of stuff. The sweet potato fries, the chicken wings. I seen some hummus on here. They got a lot of good stuff on here.
Look at that pretzel, by the way. That looks good as hell. We're going to dive into that.
Yeah,
I ordered the sausage platter, by the way, and it's exactly as advertised. And Rita, I might need you to do the show for a little while. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be available.
He's going to be in the bathroom for a while.
I'm going to Joey Chestnut here in a second.
Let's go in on them blizzards, boy.
Did you see the dude who drank his beer through a hot dog?
That's out of line.
Did you see that guy?
That's out of line, man. That's out of line.
I tried it.
No.
You tried it?
I tried it.
Why,
You gotta
Glenn?
know. How you gonna judge somebody before you know? Wait a second. I feel like this should be up your alley. How are you gonna judge somebody
This
before
is
you know what you
embarrassing.
got going on? I needed to
I'm gonna
know.
keep my comments to myself.
All right, man. We're gonna have to move.
Please do not leave your comments to yourself. Please tell Glenn how foolish he is for trying to do what he just
I
did.
don't think my comments are appropriate for this.
Wait a second.
Mine aren't either, so I'm
Ask
just gonna
Rita
keep
how
it
she
shut.
drinks her beer.
I drink it with a straw, but that's nothing like what you just said.
You got a
She
glizzy.
drinks beer with a
He had a
straw.
glizzy. He don't
She drinks beer with a straw,
Tell Glenn what a
Tyus.
glizzy is.
You know what? Let's move on, people.
Okay.
What's the next topic?
I'm glad Justin said it because I was going to be quiet.
Next topic is I'm gonna enjoy this glizzy. That's the way it's gonna go.
No.
Hey, enjoy your glizzy, man.
This is the first show.
I would
of the
like to
season.
know how that went. I need more. I need
how
more
did they go?
details.
It's nothing. It does nothing for you. I don't know. This guy was just drunk and was messing around. He literally poked a hole through the entirety of the hot dog.
And you felt the need to follow behind him and do
I
it?
just wanted to know. I don't understand what's so bad about that. Why do I have to defend myself? I'm trying to broaden my horizons, expand things.
That's not a horizon you wanna go about, man. You wanna stay away from that horizon. Specifically, that horizon. Stay away from it, man.
I thought we were friends. I thought we were better than this.
We'll talk after the show. We'll talk after the show.
Because I could just leave you out for dry.
I'm gonna enjoy this sausage. You're gonna tell me about you got a new defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
A guy you know though.
Yeah.
What's it been like, that transition, as Mike McDonald's moved into that role?
It's been refreshing. It's been great to just see where he come from. You know, just being a linebacker coach when I was there, I want to say my second year, and then just seeing what he did at Michigan and now having the opportunity to be a defense coordinator for us, it's been awesome, especially with the defense that he runs. It pretty much kind of like what we did, the past few years. So it's been really smooth for me to be able to go about the playbook and learn from it, and to still go out there and play fast and not have to think so much. So it's been great to have him around.
Justin, is it weird having an defensive coordinator that's like literally the same age as you?
So what's crazy, I've known Mike since like really when he started. We met at Georgia. He came on working at Georgia, and he was helping out there when I was my last year there at Georgia. That's when I met Mike. So this go back like way back, you know what I'm saying, when I was in college. So to see him now, to see where he has, how much he's grown and how hard he works, like it's amazing, and I love it, and I'm glad he's got this opportunity. And the little time we spent so far, I just love everything about how he's going about doing the system, how he's demanding greatness from us. He's not asking, he's demanding it. Like, he wants perfection from it. Perfection don't exist, but that's the aiming point. And he's demanding it from everybody in the room, not one person. It's not like because you such and such. He don't care what person you are in that room. He demanding greatness from everybody in that room, and I love it. And to be a winning defense, that's what you got to have.
It's awesome. That's awesome. We like it. What should we expect? Is it, Tyus? Is it different? Like, he was here when Wink was here. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
is it that different than what we've seen before?
It's a little different, just in a new position. Higher position. So like you said, he demands greatness. He demands, perfection, out of this group. And he knows that we're capable of doing that. He believes in all of us. He knows what we can do. And we believe in him. And that just helps us grow as a defense to go out there and be the best defense in the league. So I just feel like what he's doing for us now, it's definitely going to help us moving forward, come, this Sunday and moving forward throughout the season.
It's great. It's great. We love everything about that. Yeah. All right. I want to eat more food, so we need to take a quick break.
What you won't do is make a hole in the sausage. And we're going to tell you what that word means during the break.
Rita, I know.
Do you know?
Do you really?
I do know what it means. We're on the radio now, so we can't talk about it.
Okay.
All right. We can't talk about it this season. That's the way it goes. Hey, y'all make some noise again for Tyus Bowser and Justin Houston. Live from Guilford Hall Brewery, this is the Tyus Bowser Show. It's a partnership of Pressbox and Grade 8's memorabilia. Of course, Pressbox. If you want daily picks from Jeremy Kahn, go to PressboxOnline.com. Find out how you can make some money. When we come back in, you got a house.
Yes.
And you were decorating it.
Yes.
I want to talk about, there are no rules. What anything would you put in your house? All right, no rules, money's not an issue, location, nothing. I want to talk about that next, all right? It's the Tyus Bowser Show.